for us. The second thing would be the club income from the Officers Club. It was $285 in January. It would have been more, but there was one cancellation. So that's anything as far as leases and items go on there.
Do we need to take any action on any?
Need to take action on the Vietnam Veterans of America lease.
All right, let's have a little quick time out for you, Shane, if you would.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm entertaining a motion to approve the lease from the Vietnam Veterans of America.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Vietnam Veterans of America lease to continue as no charge.
No charge. Thank you for adding that, Mr. Roy. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, got one from Shackleton. Any further discussion? Yeah, I think that's good business. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, 5-0. Now going to the lease actions, F1. I should have put you on hold, Shane. I
Oh,
apologize.
I'm sorry, that's okay.
What was the first anything on the lease actions?
I think that was just awareness that you've
Just
got
awareness?
one coming
Yes,
in.
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. Now we're moving on to the club income.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And that, again, was $285 for January because we had one cancellation.
Okay.
And and the club usually does really well. This was just one of those slow months, I'm guessing.
Well, when we talk a club, we talk officers.
Officers Club, yes, sir. Officers
I didn't
Club.
make sure we didn't have the club down there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I mean, that's kind of an important word left there.
That could be your post-Christmas dip.
Right, right.
all
That's
the
what I was
parties and
told, yes,
everything.
sir. My first time in January being there, yeah, in December we did really well. And we have a chart and a board, an administrative assistant, Joyce, who's been there, she set up a whiteboard, and I can see months ahead of time who's going to rent and not rent. And it's a pretty busy agenda. It usually
Okay.
stays pretty busy. And I have an inmate crew that helps me out twice a week from the corrections department, and they usually help me set up and clean up the Officers Club in between events. So that's how we get it done and get it ready for the next event each time.
All right, well, good. That's
Yeah.
working out well then.
It's helpful. That crew's helping me a lot.
And normally sometime in the spring, they'll have a meeting for all the people who utilizes the, I don't think they call them inmates anymore, they call them offenders. What is it?
Oh, the workforce crew?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I've always been politically incorrect.
I understand.
But anyway, all right. Anything we need to do about that? Nothing? Anything?
Okay.
All right. And staff, we added the F3.
So you've got the report. We added it on the agenda, but it's actually in your packet. It's a memo format from Mr. Hawkins. Shane, floor is yours. Go over the report.
I have a little memorandum. It just has a few items, talking points. Things I've done in the past, as you know, John retired the first of the year, and I was with John a few weeks before he retired in December. And since then, I've kind of been on my own to kind of learn the property and learn its needs, and it's going to take a while. But some of the things I picked up on right away were the property needed cleaning up a lot, and it's going to take a while, but I've started already. We have an RV park, I guess you're aware of. We have RVs, 3 of them that have been out there and abandoned for years. And when an RV is abandoned, it attracts animals, it attracts vandalism, and it leaves one slot that we can't rent. So I had one of them moved up in a field until I can get the information from the owner or a title so I can legally dispose of it. I already had one that happened. I got legal disposal rights, and I got rid of it, so we hauled it away and cleaned up the area, so now we can start getting rent on that. That unit had been sitting there 5 years abandoned. I don't know why or how, and that's rent we never received for 5 years.
Well, so, Shane, I know that you're new to it.
Yes, sir.
So, if I got an RV and I want to stay there for a couple weeks or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Do I sign a contract that says, I can't just leave my hot rod there forever?
You know, I'm learning how it works, and that particular thing, it's just RV park rules you agree to. There's no lease. You can be there a weekend, you can be there a week. Some people park them there that are military, leave them for the winter, winterize them, come back in the spring and utilize them and stay in them. Or they'll haul them around the state for vacation and bring them back. And there's people that live there year-round, and they actually have mailboxes. And that's where their mail gets delivered. It's where they live. And matter of fact, commander of the post, Schaefer, his mom lives there on post in an RV. Which is, I've got to become friends with her. And
Good.
I didn't know it was his mom until we talked. So I was real nice to her.
Well, I'm glad you cleaned it up. Any
But
questions?
she's a nice lady, so lives there year-round too, like a lot of other people do.
Okay.
Yeah, where is the rules and regulations for that park?
When you come into the office to inquire about a lot, because there's a hookup, like in an RV park, you have your waste, you have your water, and you have your electrical outlets. Our administrative assistant Joyce will hand them a packet. They have, not a packet, but a page they have to read and agree to. And then she will come to terms with them how long they're going to be there. And don't quote me, but I do believe it's 14 a day or 14 a week. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
All right, the reason why I was asking is, when's the last time it was revised? Should we take a look at it? Make sure we're up
Well,
to date,
and so-
insurance, all that stuff.
So clarification for the public, I do like points for clarification here. So the LRA, and that's why we're having this meeting before the board meeting, I gotta be careful how I say this. I don't want people to think that I'm taking taxpayers' money and cleaning up a mess that someone left behind. But the LRA has its own separate budget, right? And money coming in. But still, that money is still part of our taxpayers' money. So anyway, can we take a look at that, Mr. Carson?
Well, Shane and Katie and I met in preparation for the budget, and he went over a lot of this. What he's been doing out there is basically doing an assessment. If you'll remember last Thursday evening, I suggested that we have a work session where we actually go out to the LRA.
Yes, sir.
And take a quick little tour. He's done a very good job of assessing and cleaning up. These are just some of the quick things that he has done. So yes, we've talked about the leases needing to be revised and brought up to standard code.
Yes.
We've talked about some of the processing in terms of past due collections and quitter pay notices, the
yeah,
process for
payer quits,
quitter pay, the
yes, sir.
process for lease violations, getting lease violations cleaned up. He's really that fresh set of eyes that's coming in and kind of looking at with his experience from having been served, been in a similar position for a housing authority.
Yes, Petersburg and Charlottesville. Mhm.
So you've got this list here before you of some of the things he's been doing. It's up to you, members of the authority. You all can ask him about each one of these, or you can pick or choose if you see something that catches your eye.
Yes, we started the pay or quits after the 5th of each month, which my understanding has not been done in years. And that's just a friendly notice and reminder to tenants that we're serious about collecting, because there's quite a bit of rearages with some tenants, commercial side, incubator side, and with the apartments. I think complacency took place, so now my experience tells me to step forward and let them know that this is how it's going to be, not because I'm changing it, but because it should have been this way all along. And at one point it might have been, but at this point we're going to move forward. And with 2020 and COVID, a lot of new things came down through the state as far as collections through the courts, and the processes have changed. And a lot of it's not reflected in any of the leases, because there are leases for the incubator, which is the rental of some of the office space, and the commercial side and the resident side. There's a tenant assertion packet that has to be signed. No one's ever done it. Little things like that that were passed on in law. And for us to collect properly, it has to be updated along with the leases.
Okay.
That's the technical side of it, but that's what has to be done.
Well, like looking at the list though, I'm just asking, like you got taking bids replacing water heaters in 3 large buildings.
I do.
Is it, these probably are not like your residential water heaters, these are
sir.
big boys.
These are the 80-gallon water heaters with 150 subsidiary tank for domestic water, and it's a boiler system. So, and it's all oil.
Okay.
And as we know, oil's expensive, parts are expensive, and my understanding is these tanks were put in the mid-90s. Wow. And I am constantly up there. I get emergency calls on weekends and nights to come up and reset the water heaters.
Okay.
Because they're constantly going out.
Wow.
And there's so many parts have been replaced. Some of them they don't make anymore, and I have a plumber that's been helping me try to make them work, and they need replacing, and there's 2 options. We can go all electric, or we can go propane, which the propane is more expensive, but it's more efficient. And I have 3 estimates already. They range from 15,000 to 46,000.
You can put two 50-gallon electrics in there for the cost of that
Right.
80.
And one thing too, board members, authority members, gotta get it right. The authority members, what I want you to think about, I do know a little bit about Shane's background because I interviewed him. He's got that thing about clean and organized tools. He may need to get some more tools so he don't have to contract out so much, you know.
right.
So that's stuff that.
That's a big part of it, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
having the
gotcha.
tool, and I believe Logan just wrote up a advertisement for a maintenance tech to help me out.
Right, okay.
Someone who has qualifications with that type of work.
Okay.
Plumbing is a big part of the problem out there, and also carpentry. A lot of rot in the buildings are older, and deferred maintenance has been a problem, and water damage. An example, none of the buildings that I deal with have gutters, never had gutters. Foundations are soft, joists are rotting out, windows are leaking, and it goes from top to bottom, and it just makes it worse.
You ain't seen no groundhogs, have you?
Yeah, I actually have.
That was a
You're
joke.
exactly right, I have. That and cats.
All right.
So that's another issue.
Board members, you want him to just continue working on this list? Are y'all
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
with
sounds
that?
good.
And then, we know that's a living document, Shane, so if you come next month, you might say, I gotta add on something. Is that
Okay.
fair enough, Mr. Costin? Okay.
Okay.
All right, no, we don't need a vote or anything, just census of the,
Just receiving his report.
all right. While we, got a little more time.
Yes, sir.
So, Katie, and when we have our we're planning a work session next week. This is just brainstorming because I got a feeling, so the LRA brings in money.
Yes, sir.
And some of that goes into the, sounds like now we got to put money back into the LRA to fix buildings. But I was hoping, the purpose of that money in rental is to try to figure out how we can do economic development. So what I was trying to figure out, instead of us cashing a CD in or going into our general fund too much, is it a way possibly that we could use some of this LRA money for starter money for economic development?
That money is you all's to decide what to do with it.
Okay.
It's sitting in its own separate fund, and what is it,
How much is in there?
5.2, I believe?
All right, for point of clarification or point of procedure, I don't want to call it point of something. So if we're an authority for that, but yet when we go into the EDC, we're going in as board members. How do we get the money from ourselves? You hear what I just said?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can make a motion to give the money to the board or add it to the general fund, and then the board should be able to transfer.
Not
it
looking
to
for a
the-
solution tonight.
Right.
Plant the mustard seed and put a little water on it. I see, look like your brain is cooking. You all right?
It is. It is. It
All
is.
right. All right.
Been cooking for 3 nights in a row.
But I realize too, a lot of money that we getting's got to go back into these buildings and get it. I get it because they need to be worked on. Just trying to think of ways to try to use money coming in. You with me, board members? You kind of see what I'm thinking? Okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay.
And I like to, I was telling Ms. Tomer and Mr. Costin when I got hired in a meeting we had recently, I'd like to concentrate on the redevelopment part of the title of the agency. And that's exactly what you're touching on now.
Okay.
There is room for redevelopment, and there's creative ways to redevelop what we have already. Possibly we can get to that point. Right now, I'm just playing catch up.
Yeah, I get it.
And I don't want to keep spending money on contractors
Why did you look at
unnecessarily.
me when he said that?
You know, and when the rent coming in is less than what you're paying out to contractors, we're in the negative. We're in the negative, and it's been going on for the books I've looked at and the way I've looked at things for years.
Okay.
So it needs to turn around at one point, so that we have properties we're proud to as Nottoway County to show people and live in, and rent as far as commercial side. And I think once the word gets out that we're in the business of doing redevelopment and good new things, I think more people will be interested. And at that point, you can raise rent and get more comparable rent to what's going on in the area.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, because and Sherman, I know you've seen this before. We do get some criticism that we're government and the big brother or whatever, and we're taking business away from other people.
Yeah.
Come on out there with us. Our rent is cheap.
Yeah.
Don't go to Blackstone.
Right,
And we don't
right.
want. That's not fair for Blackstone.
I understand.
Right. And so, anyway.
But there's little things we can do to make it even across the board. I don't think we'll ever compete with probably conventional apartments and rentals, but you can come close to it.
Right.
Offer an alternative.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think, what my brain was burning over was the thought, sometimes you have to spend money to make money.
Okay, get you.
But while we're back on this, I'd like to say, is there a date that the the authority could find for a meeting out there, just to take a tour, see some of these spots that need some attention, and,
I think that's very possible. I think we can figure that out.
okay?
All right. And maybe
I know we had discussed earlier today, because we've got the meeting next week kind of focused on economic development.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
got,
yeah,
we've got, we need this meeting, and certainly we'll have a couple more relative to the budget.
Right.
To try to schedule something in there.
And maybe what we could do, just brainstorming with you, this may be another meeting, but, we could hold a EDC meeting out there at the Officers Club, and then right before that, take the mayors and whoever, the EDC group, say, look, this is what we have, because the first step we need to know what we have.
Yeah, list the
And-
properties.
And then where is all our property through the county, and then work from there, so.
I was wondering, just to, kind of kill two birds with one stone, since I think most folks are going to be interested in attending the renaming ceremony on the 24th.
Right.
That maybe we could do something that morning
Okay.
before the event.
That might be
Make
possible.
it a whole day out there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll look at that as an option. But
Okay.
I'm very pleased with Mr. Hawkins has come forward with very early in his association with the LRA.
All right. Thank you so much. What's
That's
next?
it for now, then. If you have any questions, if I didn't answer it, I'll find it for you next time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Shane. You're doing a good job. We appreciate having you on the team.
Thank you all. I
Mr.
appreciate
Chairman,
it.
I did have one more quick question.
Okay,
When
yes,
you were
sir.
speaking about redevelopment,
Yes, sir.
here we go. Is there any room out there for solar?
For solar? Absolutely.
Solar who? I'm kidding with you.
Absolutely. The water heaters, for one thing. If you're going to put them in anyway, it's an option.
John, you do know that the Army is planning to, the National Guard is planning,
On our property?
no, not on our property. I'm talking about on their own property.
There
And
is.
with the solar, it would accommodate the whole post.
There is some concerns with solar because of the glare in the airport.
I think they took that away because of water.
Okay.
Based on water, because the water reflects the same as,
Okay.
a body of water reflects the same as solar panels would, so.
There is solar panels out there already from part of I'm guessing the National Guard. There's a field fenced in with it. I can't tell you how big it is, so someone's already started it out there.
And they have the
I knew
classes are on the Southside Community College property as well.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
All right, we got to look at the clock. What do we got to go in closed
I'm
session?
good, I'm good.
Do we have to go in closed session?
No, sir, we do not.
We do not have to go in closed session. Do you want to introduce the new gentleman?
Sure. Stand on up, Matthew. Matthew Huban, and I'll introduce him again at the next meeting.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll do it now,
No,
but, well, Matthew is going to be joining us as the maintenance supervisor here on this complex, given the retirement of Wayne and Fred this last couple of years. We're getting Matthew from the Chesterfield County Public School System, where he's overseeing maintenance at a couple of the schools there along Genito and Swift Creek. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And again, Mr. Bowen indicated he was on the interview panel for both these gentlemen, and the concept is if Shane needs help, Matthew can step in. If Matthew needs help, Shane can step in.
Yeah, what I liked about them, they know more than I do. It's hard to believe in them, Ms. Vaughn.
Lynn, is that hard?
Yeah, welcome both of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep, sir.
All right, looking for a motion to adjourn?
Do we have closed session?
No closed
No,
session.
no closed session.
So I move that we adjourn.
All right, got a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Good stuff. Front, some empty seats up front. All right, let me go. Oh, bring my mic, run my mic. All right, the February 16th Nottoway County Board of Supervisors will come to order. I thank everybody for coming here tonight. I told somebody last night at the at the town hall meeting we had that, what better week? You know, you got the Super Bowl Sunday, you get a day's rest, then you have Valentine's Day, and then you have a great town hall meeting, then you get to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting. So anyway, so it's like it goes up all the way. But anyway, and nobody really liked that, but I liked it. All right. So to get started, I got a special guest tonight, Reverend Damian Batts, to do the invocation. Before I get him to do the invocation, I'm getting to ask him something, and it's very important, and Mr. Hyde, Buddy Hyde, our emergency services coordinator, understands what we're talking about. I really want to get to church. The churches are like the cornerstone of when we have emergency services. Buddy, is that right? You know, you got your fire departments, but many times we go to our churches. So I've asked Reverend Batts to, talk about his church a little bit, any local missions you're doing, or anything like that with the community. And I want to start forming really a good partnership with our churches. And it'd be just great if all our churches across Nottoway County, we're on first name basis, So Reverend Batts, you got the floor, and I appreciate you coming tonight.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To all of you, I'm grateful to be here to share with you tonight. And I'm the pastor of the Mount Nebo Baptist Church, I believe, one of the second oldest black churches in our community. It was formed in 1867. I am the 8th pastor of the church in the history of 51 years this year.
Wow.
Or 56 years this year, 56 years this year. And we are involved in doing things in our community with the Blackstone Ministerial Association. I'm one of the former presidents of the BMA, the Blackstone Ministerial Association. Also, we do things with our Virginia State Convention, our Baptist State Convention, our Baptist General Convention, as well as with the American Red Cross. We try to make sure we give back to them every year, and that's something that we have as a always budgeted item in our church's budget. But we do different things within our community. We recently honored a former mayor and a lot of other officials within our community. Okay. And I told Brother Bowen that I'm going to share with you all tonight, to all of you, that I'm just going to read it very briefly, and to all of you are certainly welcome. From the Mount Nebo Baptist Church, dear Board of Supervisors, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. It is with this in mind that we here at Mount Nebo are pleased to honor those to whom honor is due for their bravery, perseverance, selflessness, and their countless contributions seen and unseen during times of racial and social unrest, past and present. You are cordially invited to attend our annual celebration on Sunday, February 19th, this coming Sunday, at 2:30 p.m. We shall honor those who have contributed not only to black history, but they have contributed to humanity, of which all of us are a part. Therefore, you are honored and recognized for your contribution to our community and world as a shaker, boomer, and history maker. Our theme is celebrating our past as we embrace our future, from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. And I'm asking that you all would please join us as we honor and salute all of you, from Brother Vaughn all the way to Sister Simmons. That means you too, all of you, our Board of Supervisors. And so we pray that you can share with us, and you all, the community as well, because we're part of the community. It doesn't matter who we are, what color we are, we're all God's children, and we're all brothers and sisters in Christ.
Amen.
With that being said, I want to go ahead into our devotion, first of all, tonight, and then I'll go into prayer. You forgive me. I'm old and young and slow. Psalm 133 says, how good and how pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down an Aaron's beard upon the collar of his robe. With that being said, all of us are here together within our community and I applaud Brother Bowen and what he has said is trying to make sure that we all know that we are the community. As Dr. King envisioned the beloved community, it consisted of everybody, men, women, boys, and girls, no matter what color they were. And one thing I always stress is that we should live together in unity, no matter who we are or where we come from. We should love one another because all of us are brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus. And one thing, if you know about this month, Valentine's Day, it has passed. This is a month of love, no matter who you are. And even to all of you, our wonderful citizens of Nottoway County, I love all of you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you Board of Supervisors. So I encourage you that we continue to move forward in love, to love one another, and to realize that all of our help comes from God. Let us pray. God, our Father, we come to say thank you. We thank you, dear Master, for being so grateful to us. We pray tonight that you would be with us in our council meeting. We thank you because we realize that all thanks and praise goes to you for your mighty works. You're loving and good and gracious. Thank you for creating us and sustaining us day by day. Thank you that you made us in your image to exist in community with other people. We thank you for our beloved community, Nottoway County. Thank you for our elected officials, all the businesses, all the churches, all the families, all the individuals that make our community, our county, a great place that it is. But Lord, we acknowledge that we do not deserve these good gifts. We're not worthy of your favor, but we have sinned against you in thought, in word, and in deed. We do things that we should not do, and we don't do the things that we should do. We have not loved you with our whole heart, and we have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. And so we appeal to the Lamb of God tonight, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins. Forgive us and give us hearts of obedience to love your holy word. Thank you that Jesus rose from the dead and now reigns as King over heaven and earth. Grant our community, Lord, that it would be known as a righteous community, a community that confesses Jesus as Lord, a community of peace and hope, a community with happy homes, a community that welcomes strangers no matter who they are, a community that cares for the needy, defends the innocent from evildoers. And Lord, we thank you for the civil government, those who bear the sword as your ministers to be terror to crime. I pray, O God, that civil servants would acknowledge this calling and perform it faithfully. Be with our judges, our attorneys, our law enforcement, and grant that they would never neglect or abuse their authority, but they would stand firm for truth and justice. Keep them safe from harm as they serve our community. And I pray for this council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. I ask that you would anoint this agenda in a special way, and may every decision be righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. In the name of our Father and Son, of the Holy Spirit, our precious Lord, Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend, and I hope you all have a blessed, Mount Nebo has a blessed service this Sunday. Okay. All right, we've given honor to God. Let's give honor to our country. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you. All right, following the agenda, in public, there is a, if you didn't get an agenda, they had some out front, correct, Mr. Costa? Yes, sir. All right, we're on B now. I'm entertaining a motion to approve the agenda that's before you.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, there's no presentations tonight, but I would like to make an introduction during presentations.
Okay, once you do an introduction, that seems fair. Any board members got any problem with that? Any other amendments anybody's thinking about? All right, I'm entertaining a motion to approve the agenda as with that one change.
So moved.
I got
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Approval of the minutes, looks like we now need a motion to adopt the regular monthly meeting. It was January 26, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we receive and adopt the minutes.
I got a motion from Mr. Vaughn to adopt those minutes. And I get a second.
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussions about the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Delegations from the public. Looks like we got a couple folks tonight, and the first one on the list is Mr. Sonny Abbott of Little Creek Road, and I think now there's District 2, sir. Is that correct?
As I understand it.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Mr. Abbott.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, members
sir.
of the board, Mr. Costin,
Good evening.
and those of us who have come here tonight. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the change in question answering, the consideration that you've given. Hopefully, my questions won't unnecessarily burden whomever is assigned to provide the answer. During the January 2023 organization meeting, one board member jogged everyone's memory on Section 2-1, the numerical district rotation. My question is on Section 316, standing committees, and it states in part, and I quote, shall be appointed by the chair. I'd like to know if this is accurate. Is there a method to change the procedures between the 4-year election cycles? Can the procedures be changed by a simple majority decision? In other words, are the rules of procedures covering the period January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2023 sacrosanct? Additionally, in February of 2022, at that board meeting, so that was 1 year ago, I thanked Mr. Anzavino for his December 2021 Special Project Manager update on the animal shelter. A question followed during that February meeting, and at that time, it went unanswered. The question was, when will engineering drawings or construction specifications be forthcoming, since the county has clear title to the donated land? We know that the drawings are in process. The current status is unknown. Updates on the animal shelter have basically been dropped from the agenda. I closed last year saying, it truly shouldn't take 5 years, should it? Well, we are getting dangerously close to 5 years from the initial discussion on building a new facility, and we don't seem to be close to learning of a completion date. I have a few questions. On the importance scale, where does the shelter list? The engineering construction drawings will be complete and available for review when? When will site preparations begin? When will the county and the town of Burkeville agree on timing to connect water and sewer to the site? When will funding or budget appropriations actually be made? When will bids be requested on whatever is agreed upon to be built? Our animal control officers have been working out of a less than adequate building and will continue to do so until decisions are made. Their current building is approximately 1,100 square feet. The first proposal for the animal shelter was for a 7,476 square foot structure. Then it went to 6,301 square feet. And the current proposal, last mentioned, is for a slightly over a 5,000 square foot structure. Please don't mistake what I am about to say. I hope my questions get more actions than answers. I would also suggest that you, in your package, you look at what the animal officers provided in your package. It showed that in the previous month, they handled 25 dogs. The proposed structure is to hold 20 dogs. Thanks for listening. I won't run away if you have a question.
No. The point of, yeah, if we don't mind, I'd like to just get a little further clarifications to point of clarification. Going back to the standing, I mean, we're talking about the rules, our policy and procedure rules, and it's got the word shall. Shall means, in my brain, I'm just talking to you, Mr. Abbott, that I will, but if it said I should, is that the clarification you're looking for?
It doesn't. No, it says shall be.
It says
So
shall.
if it says shall be, why haven't they been?
Okay. Good point.
Unless one of my following questions was, if you could change it by a simple motion, and I understand some time ago, the person is currently the chair made a motion and it passed. My question is because it seemed to be questionable or doubtful that you can change these rules and procedures in between the
Right.
4-year cycle.
Right.
So if they can't be within the 4-year cycle, my humble suggestion is, sir, that we follow the rules and procedures.
Right. Yeah, and so, and he's making a very valid point, and I want to get to another section if we could for a minute, if you could just hold tight. So, I guess we never really talked about that, but my brain was like, if I'm chairman, then I need to look at those rules and procedure, and then that goes for that whole year. But next year, it could be different with the next chairman, right? I mean, we have never really talked about that, have we?
You're saying the rules and procedures hold for the board's term
To old term. So we should have started.
It says on the front of this document,
for that, yeah.
from January 1, 2020 to December 31, 2023.
But does that mean, in your mind, that they cannot be amended during that
No,
period
ma'am,
of time?
it does not. That's why I asked that.
Yeah, I got you.
That's why I asked the simple question, is can they be adjusted?
Right.
And if they can be adjusted, is this updated to meet those new specifications?
I'm with you now. I got you. That's why I want a point of clarification. Does anybody else have any point on that? And
The only thing I was told when I got here in 2020 was,
I remember that day.
I do too.
Okay.
And Lord, was it a glorious day. But anyway, so what I was told, our very first meeting, our organizational meeting, I was never given the opportunity once I was elected in November to sit down and have a conversation about what I thought should be in the rules of procedure. I walked into the organizational meeting and there was a vote to accept it. And I was told that this is in place and it can't be moved.
Right.
That's what I was
I
told.
got you. Okay.
I don't think it was accurate, but that's
Yeah,
what I was told.
that's fine. And then the other point of clarification, Mr. Abbott, if you just bear with me, is all your win, I call it the win questions, with the animal shelter. So you basically, you're looking at, we need to develop, and I think that's a fair thing, is to try to develop a timeline. And I know it's not going to be the Bible, it's not written in stone, but some type of timeline if it's a priority, high priority. And my goal at the last work session, and we couldn't get there because we were reviewing stuff. We were reviewing the list of 58. We got to figure out how we can reduce that 58 thing. And as Mr. Abbott says, if the animal shelter is going to be our top 3, let's jump on it and do something. And anyway, and answer some questions of these win questions, I call it.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
As far as the animal shelter goes, I agree with everything you said, Mr. Abbott. And I think we also ought to keep in mind how many years has this been in place. And we've got this small volunteer committee who they've identified the site, they've donated the site, and they've exceeded their $500,000 fundraising goal, and we're still sitting here
Okay.
on this, and I think it's starting to look bad for the board.
Yeah, so, yeah, what Mr. Abbott's done tonight is put a mirror up so we can look at ourselves and what we're doing. And Mr. Abbott, do you mind leaving the questions here? It's almost like, I said this the other day, every time we have a work session, budget is always in a work session. But we got to start figuring out and I think Mr. Abbott brought this to our attention, strategic planning. And we got to start having a strategic plan and moving forward. And when we hit barriers, how are we going to come? And if we think the prices are going to come down, we'll be here to 2030. You know, I don't think things are going to head the other way. So,
Mr. Chair, I spoke to Mr. Boswell the other day, and he is getting very,
Yes, he is.
yes, perturbed because we haven't moved forward.
All I've ever been waiting for is something to vote on.
Well, are we still, the architect's not supplied us with the construction drawings that we've waited for months for?
I think the last time he presented, he was shooting for March, April as a time to bring in
March,
those
April.
construction. And so I haven't put the animal shelter on the agenda because the report would be the same for the last several months. The construction drawings are still under development.
right.
Well, it looks like, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Mr.
no, no, no,
Chairman.
no, no.
may I?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
It looks like from the minutes of the last CARES committee meeting, Burkeville is proceeding with running the utilities. I think those would be relevant updates to be providing as well, if we could.
Right. And I met with the mayors. I'm sorry to leave you. We're not talking about you. I know
You haven't
here.
left me, sir. I'm
Okay,
standing
thank
right
you.
here.
No, because you didn't struck a match, and I appreciate it. You ignited something. So, you know, it's like the mayor had this conversation with me, and it's more money involved to do the site work, to start the site work than he. And he says, look, he said, look, Mr. Chairman, he said, I agreed for the animal shelter to come here, and we take it. And we changed that, they actually changed that ordinance to accept that animal shelter. And we love that spot because traffic is wonderful. 360 and 460, they can see it. The idea is to adopt these animals so they're not staying in to adopt them fast and get them out there. And I hear you, Mr. Rohrbach, over there, but if they've been there for 30 days, that's another whole issue. But the idea, but anyway, so the cost that we thought was going to be $20,000 has went on up to $55,000, but that's not his fault.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and we need, well, from what he told me, it's always, I want to hear, we got to, so we need a work session again, I mean, to dedicate just for that, I'm telling you, but I tell you what we'll do. Let's bring that subject up at the work session when we got all three mayors there, because Blackstone has some things they want to talk about. Crew's got some stuff they want to talk about, and I'm sure this is going to be it. So we will make that a subject matter so I can at least come up with a timeline, and so these people know what's happening, the citizens.
And to answer your question, sir, I provided a copy of these words.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah.
I do that every time I stand here.
Mr. Chairman,
No, thank you, and thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Abbott. Both subjects there. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Also, I don't think we would be out of our realm to ask for a hard delivery date of the plants. I think that's fair, and if they can't produce, I think we need to start preparing for someone else to maybe come in and develop those plans. I think as well, enough's enough.
I'm scared that horse left the gate. We didn't pay this guy some money, right?
We have. Yep.
Well, but I hear you. You're getting frustrated, and all right, let's talk. We'll talk about that, and then you work with on that, Mr. Costa. All right. Thank you again, Mr. Abbott again. All right, Kay, did you have anything you wanted to say? Okay, you just had that look at me, Just. All right, next one, Miss Yates, Sue Yates from Crew. Thank you for coming tonight, Miss Yates. Fixed the microphone. Well, now it's broken again, I'm sure.
Can I try to lower it? Good evening, Board, and good evening, Administrator Costin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to begin my remarks by commending the Chair, Steve Bowen, for the Solar Town Hall last night in District 1. Citizen participation was well above average for our county, which can be documented as concern. Our bright and articulate citizens researched information that I believe you, Mr. Costin, should have researched as administrator. The citizens, not Mr. Costin, were able to shed much light on the integrity of Sulunesco, or Solunesca. Blatant instances of untruth were challenged by our local citizens. This was on their website. While it is not unexpected, John Rourke, again, was the only supervisor to attend from the other 4 districts. Much of what the citizens exposed had a common root, and that root tapped one position in this county, our county administrator, Ted Costin. Mr. Costin, did you advise the board, which is your duty, that the 2,300 acres in jeopardy are owned by an LLC of two unknown people, and did you do any research to see what their strategic plan is to buy land in our county? This thought then reminded me of other areas where there has been dereliction of duties by our administrator. The packet handed out last week at the work session included the board's priority list. Of the first 37, only 7 have been completed in nearly 2 years. Of the top 10 items on the priority list, nearly every solution was to hire Sands Anderson or go outside of our county government employees' expertise, while at the same time, Mr. Costin discussed 2023 employee raises without reviews. His excuse for giving more raises was retention. Mr. Costin, you've been here 2 years and still have not completed employee reviews. Shame on you. How can you possibly think it okay to keep on passing out across-the-board raises with no reviews, all the while using retention as an excuse for many employees that have worked here for over 20 years? One thing is for sure, it appears that Mr. Costin has a well-thought-out strategic plan to afford himself another raise as he reaches retirement age without a formal review. In an email from just last year when the employees were given raises, Mr. Costin was asked, were the annual employee reviews written and have all employees had their review in 2021? He responded, and I quote, no employee reviews have ever been performed for at least 20 years. This is part of a personnel policy revision underway and a development of a new performance evaluation system. These 2 projects are among 50 plus now being worked by staff. Staff? I encourage the citizens to ask for a copy of the priority list and see how much staff have contributed. Will new hires within last year or those with promotional raises get the 5%? He responded again, quoting, yes, as a retention tool. The only exception to this across-the-board raise is me, meaning him. My current contract expires in August, and yet you do get that raise, didn't you, Mr. Costin? Let me remind the board, we are still out of compliance with not only the supervisor's manual, but state mandate for a zoning administrator. It was said at the town hall that vote was to be taken place months ago, yet here we are without a zoning administrator. Let's not forget the electoral board debacle. When you made the decision to keep Tom Reynolds out of the office, while you sat and allowed Roddy Reynolds to disparage the citizens with words like fornication. What a lack of judgment skills. Lastly, I submit your skill set does not include the talent to bring our 3 Nottoway towns together on something as crucial as our drinking water. You hand-selected a supervisor to help with this endeavor, Ms. Simmons. I ask you why? Why Helen Simmons? Do you want the water to go to Prince Edward? It appears to me you would rather grow Prince Edward than Nottoway. I am on the record today saying you're not the right man for the job, and that the only thing that has grown in your strategic plan for Nottoway County is your salary, which dictates the amount of your retirement. We, the citizens, are paying you $139,650 a year. I just don't think we are getting much bang for the buck.
Point of clarification, if you don't mind,
No
stand up,
problem.
Ms. Yates. And thank you for your comments. And you did say the correct word that you said. It wasn't a formal. We did have a informal evaluation, but I can't get into details with that.
Sure.
But it seems like, and I'm listening, letting the board just be thinking, I've been trying to fight not having committees, and maybe we should have a personnel
Let you know,
committee.
I kind of agree. I agree with you on this committee thing.
Right,
so-
okay.
and it's
Anyway,
works
but
both
that's
ways.
something we'll take a strong look at. But I would say this, we did go in closed session without giving too many details, and we did, I did recommend that Ms. Simmons would be the person with the leader with the water, because at that time she was representing most of the town of Crew, even though we know, we didn't officially know where the districts were going to change, but that's what we had put in for. So that's where that came from. It was not, is that a fair statement, board members? I mean, I just don't want to say, anyway, and I'm not saying all of us agreed on it. I'm just saying that's how, that was my decision making when I agreed to it, but not everybody might not agree with that. But anyway,
Can I make a statement?
Yes, ma'am. Quickly.
I'm in District 2 with John, and it's my understanding that District 2 encompassed almost all of the town of Crewe. With that being said, the town of Crewe, far out, the actual town of Crewe, okay,
Right,
not
okay.
in the county, the town of Crewe,
ma'am.
far offsets any numbers that come from the county. So I have a difficult time understanding, Steve, if it was your if it was your recommendation, why Helen? Helen was at that time, I don't know about the new districting, was certainly not the supervisor for the entirety of the town, or even the vast majority of the town. I think John is. John takes care of the town of Crewe, or did,
Well,
okay?
it did. I say that's what I was trying to say. I knew that we had already put a proposal in for the district change.
I got you.
And of course, we didn't, it was almost everything was happening at one time. We had to have the public hearing for the district change, and that could have went the other way too. So, but anyway, that was the purpose of the reason why I made that choice, and I'll let other board members speak for themselves.
I got you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, actually, you're right in what you said, but accurately, some of those meetings had taken place prior to your statement in closed session about that.
Oh.
Because we were getting the update about the meeting. And so when we got the update, Mr. Costa notified us that he had met, along with Ms. Simmons, with the three towns. And as I recall, you said, well, since she's already been meeting, we'll leave that there.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm staying corrected. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Brook. Anyway.
Yeah, so, and just to be, I don't know when, as far as my recollection, nothing ever came in front of this board to create a committee to appoint Mr. Costin and Ms. Simmons that I'm aware of, because that never came in front of me.
And I might add, this water issue in our county right now,
Yes,
to
ma'am.
me, is the biggest issue we have going on.
Okay.
It is a huge issue that the town of Crewe and the town of Burkeville have water. And I, for one, will state very publicly, we need to grow Nottoway. We don't need to be growing Prince Edward
Gotcha.
County, okay?
Thank you. And just to say that, okay, that's not, I mean, it is a huge issue.
Huge.
Right, I get you. Okay. And so I don't know how we got here from there, and maybe I didn't say it right, and I apologize to the board.
okay.
But I don't, right now, there's no more, right now, we're not having any meetings with Prince Edward as far as I know of, okay? I mean, that's done right now. Is that correct?
None that I'm aware of.
That's correct. Okay.
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
And thank you for the comment.
Yeah, and thank you for your
going back and
representation of
forth.
Crewe, too. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, good stuff. All right, public hearings. We got a special exception item, the Stokes. Mr. Zodi, our Planning and Economic Developer Director, we thank you for coming, and would you introduce the public hearing for me, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. This is a continuation from last month's meeting. It's the Stokes special exception request. What they're seeking for this is to get a special exception permit to continue an existing family cemetery. And the reason it's being brought before you all, two reasons. They wanted to create a 2-acre parcel for parking, and then a 50 by 50 area within that 2-acre perimeter to expand future burials. And I've wrote a short memo for you all regarding the outcome of the board meeting. But regardless, this is approximately a little bit over 19 acres. Parcel B, that's the 2 acres. That's located in the southwestern corner of the parcel, adjacent to a 50-foot easement coming off of Pine and Green Road. Last time I was there, I did a site visit 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was Stokes Lane. It'll just say it's Stokes Lane, and then you can go back. And I would highly recommend never taking your vehicle out there on an unmaintained road unless it's a 4Runner. And fortunately, I have a 4Runner. Okay. So it's all good, just saying. But anyway, so what they have, right now, the existing conditions on the site is the cemetery.
Okay.
There's the remnants of Mr. Stokes, Willie Stokes, Mr. Willie Stokes' old homestead. And that's basically sunk into the ground except for the metal roof on top.
Right.
And then again, in the southeastern corner of southwestern corner, again in the site, there's a trailer, and one of our planning commission members had told me that trailer was dumped off at that site. So that it was never connected to a well. And during my site visit, I did not see any well heads, because generally, according to Jamie Hawley, we want to keep wells 100 feet away from cemeteries. And the cemetery is unique because they only bury urns of cremated relatives. And that's what they can want to do in the future if it arises, or if the relatives were buried somewhere else, they'd still at least like to have a memorial area within that 50 by 50 area. So what I did at I think it was the 17th meeting, we had an adjacent property owner who had issues. He inherited, I believe, the site next to it that has frontage. I believe it's Harris, Gerard?
Wilson.
Wilson, I'm sorry, thank you. And he had a lot of concerns, and that's the reason why we they continued their meeting after closing public hearing. So what I'd like to do is give you all an update. The issues, there are 5 issues. The setback of the cemetery from his property line, Mr. Wilson's property line, the well location and cap off, verify the cemetery location because he was insistent that it was located on the opposite corner of the parcel of 32-48. 4th was 3-foot burial depth, and then 100-foot setback from the property lines. I included photographs, and I believe you all have seen those. It wasn't that blue of a morning. It was something with our copier. But I did include emails from Mrs. Johnson, Carolyn Johnson. She's the administrator for the estate, and her sister, Veronica Brown. And that kind of explains why I told you all about only what they want to do on the property. So what I did was provide you all with my responses. Number 1, the setback of the cemetery from the neighbor's rear property line. The existing cemetery is approximately 270 feet from the rear property line of Williamson. That's the former owner's name. Well location and cap off. And I could not find a well on that acreage. Right. Nothing.
Okay.
3, verify the cemetery location. And as I mentioned earlier, I did walk the site, and it was exactly where the recorded plat indicates that 2 acres is. 4th, there's 3-foot burial depth. He was questioning whether or not that existed. And this isn't about interring cadavers, and I didn't want to say that.
No,
but
right.
it's...
Say it like it is, brother.
Oh, no, if I did that, I wouldn't last long.
You're killing me. No, I'm kidding. That was funny.
But any future burials will be in urns. And so there's no issue about that depth. Right. I mean, you think about it. You can scatter them on the ground. And Mr. Work and I had a discussion earlier, you scatter them over the water. So it's not that big of a difference, in my opinion. Now, the 100-foot setback from the property line is interesting because given the Stokes Cemetery is accessed by an easement, that's recorded, heading southeast along, it's not Williamson, but it is Wilson's now, Williamson and Stokes properties, and directly serves as a road frontage for Stokes because the way the cemetery sits here, the easement comes in here. And in planning, typically where the house faces a easement or a private road, that is your front setback. Okay, we're clear. And staff's contention that the Williamson's rear property line is adjacent to the Stokes property line, since the frontage is accessed by the Stokes through the easement. The side property setback is A1 is 50 feet. As mentioned, the distance between the existing cemetery and the neighbor's property line is approximately 270 feet. Additional considerations, and I mentioned them in the initial report. Stokes family demarked the cemetery with a 50 by 50 boundary under or near the magnolia tree, which is a 300-year-old magnolia tree. It's very special to the family. 7, the remainder of the 2-acre site will be used for parking for family members, and they plan on fencing off that area as well. And they asked if they could do that. I go, certainly, they can do that. They're not blocking access to any other part of the property or anything like that. They just want to have an area set aside because they're worried about trespassers. And they might even put a gate up to access their property, not to access at the frontage on Piney Green. But so in conclusion, there was a unanimous decision to approve it, and based on that, I wrote up a little draft for y'all, just reiterating.
So while we're looking at, so to break it down, Steve Bourne understands. It seems like that we had some opposition, but it was a communication gap. Yeah, miscommunication. And so with the landowner, but the adjacent landowner, is just wanted to make sure that this cemetery won't go get encroached on his property, and we're just going to have 1,000 people would be buried out there in that one little spot. But he didn't say it like that, but that's pretty much. And then you had to go out there and clarify all these and understanding and put certain what do you call regulations in, or that's not the term, conditions in. Thank you, to make sure he is happy and the family's happy. Pretty much, okay.
And I would like to point out that the adjacent property does not have a structure on it.
Okay, okay.
I think that's very important to tell you all that. It's
and the well is very important. Is you don't want a cemetery near the well, which could contaminate the water and that type thing. And so, we were thinking, because there was a house there, a structure that fell down, it could have been a well there. But that family may not have had well water. They may have to probably use
Cistern.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking about a creek, but anyway.
And there's one, I think it's Wilson's Creek down at the bottom of the slope, to toe of the slope.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir. I do want to point out that we did send out adjacent property letters on February 1st notifying all adjacent property owners that this was going to be continued tonight. And I gave them a little background that the public hearing at the Planning Commission was closed and when they were going to meet. So I just want, for transparency purposes.
And the conditions is here, written here, what you just gave us.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And these conditions are in addition
to what we have.
Yes, sir. And yeah, that's my stuff.
Yeah. In other words, move the trailer.
Yes.
Move the metal roof, family homestead, and then no casket, just urns.
Right. And the 4 initial staff conditions. So the special exception is granted for the formal placement of an existing family cemetery. 2, this special exception may be revoked by Nottoway or by its designated agent for failure to comply with any of the listed or amended conditions made by staff, the Planning Commission, and or Board of Supervisors. 3, Stokes Lane shall be the means of ingress and egress. And 4th, parcel B can only be used for the family cemetery. No new residential structure nor residential accessory structure shall be permitted on parcel B.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zodi.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, so I need a motion to open the public hearing first before we do any comments.
So moved.
I got a motion to open. I got a second.
Second.
All right, got a properly second. Any discussion before I go into public hearing? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Public hearing is now open. You know, normally we open up and say, is anybody against it, for it? It's a cemetery. Anybody got any comments about it or questions they don't understand? Well, you might have a lot of them you don't understand. Let me rephrase that. Anybody against this cemetery? I'll say it like it is. All right, hearing none. Okay. All right, hearing none. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All right, got a motion to close the public hearing by Mr. Roy. Can I get a second?
Second.
What did I hear?
Second.
I thought you called to it. So I got a second from Mr. Vaughn. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same sign. So you heard it. Any before we approve this special exception, is any questions, any clarifications? I do want to recommend it, and you know, it was a lot of work. I mean, he had to do a lot of site. He had to do a site visit, and you got a lot of comments from the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission had no, with some of these changes, they had no objections to send it to the board. That's correct. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the application subject to the conditions below. in our packet, as well as the 3 conditions noted on the memorandum from Mr. Greg Zodi and Mr. Costin to the Board of Supervisors tonight.
Okay. That's a proper motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we do have a second. Ms. Shackleton, I think a little bit, but I thank you, Ms. Simmons, to bring it in also. So I got a motion on the floor, of course, with the, what's in the package and then with the 3 additional conditions. Any questions, any concerns, any more discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same signs. The special exception has been approved for the Stokes. Thank you, Mr. Zodi.
Thank you, Board.
Appreciate that. All right, looking at your package, we're going to budget adjustment FDCE, which stands for something enterprises.
Fred D. Circle.
I couldn't think of his name. Thank you, Ms. Katie.
The budget adjustment you have for consideration before you tonight is in the amount of $440,908.27. This represents the VACORP insurance payment to the county as a result of the April 21st, 2022 fire that damaged county property located at 225 Butterwood Trail in Pickett Park. This is the building that was being and still is being leased by Mr. Circle, which is FDC Enterprises. The total appraisal amount on this damage was $515,728.34. There was a depreciation factor which resulted in the amount that we have for consideration.
Before we open up thank you for introducing it to me. So basically what we're looking for the public hearing is accept the check from the insurance, correct?
Yeah.
All right, total transparency. So that fire happened while we were having a board meeting, I believe, right?
It started in April before the board meeting.
Right, and so let's look, y'all help me out because we do some LRA things here too. So do we still own the building, correct?
Yes, sir.
But Mr. Circle wants to buy the building and the property.
Those communications have been held, yes.
Okay, there's some communication, but
Yes.
we still own it.
Yes.
Therefore, we gotta, whatever we do before I open it to the public, what are we gonna do with these funds? Fix it back, so it's not back to its original?
No.
Okay.
That's the decision to be made.
So he
after
must
the
be
fact.
using some of it or something, doing something like that.
He's storing in the future of the building in terms of who repairs
Okay,
is in negotiation.
okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Tolman. I appreciate you introducing the public hearing. I need a motion to open up the public hearing for this budget adjustment for FDCE, and so we can hear maybe the citizens to see we accept this money and if they got any questions or clarifications. Can I get a motion?
So move.
All right, I got a motion to go in public hearing by Mr. Vaughn. Can I get a second?
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Roy. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The public hearing is now open. We're willing to hear. Has anybody got any comments? They want to come to the podium? Yes, Miss. Yeah, well, the people this virtual, the Zoom guys, they really like you. We're not Zooming, are we? That's just a term. Sorry, Mr. Coleman, don't put that in there.
It's a simple question.
Yes, ma'am. Good.
The monies that were received from the insurance company for that building, were they enough? Was the building properly covered in the first place? Because a building of that magnitude, being an insurance agent, money that we received doesn't seem to be large enough amount to have covered that building, no?
Okay. All right. Since we're supposed to be listening and hearing, can we answer that question after we come back to public hearing? Yeah, okay. Anybody else got a comment? All right. All right. Hearing any more, I'd like to, I'm entertaining a motion to come out of the public hearing.
So
Close
moved.
it. All right, got a motion.
Second.
And got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing the public, but they just asked Mr. Costin, before we put this up for a vote, is can you answer that question?
I believe Ms. Tomer indicated that it was based on depreciation.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tomer.
So the building is not a total loss, and there was fear that it would be.
Okay.
There was a structural engineer that did come out and see the building, did his analysis, and that's why the settlement from the insurance company is what it is, because it is salvageable, and we can renovate the building, we can improve the building. If we do so, there may and should be additional insurance payment to come.
Yeah, and it's just a, and Holy thought, Ms. Yates, if you would, it's just a, going by memory, I believe the building, we built that thing like $800-some thousand. It seemed like to me, but it may have been more because they had poured a concrete pad. It's been so long ago, but it looks like it's right, almost half of what we paid for it, I guess. But the building's been in for right many years too.
Yes.
Okay. And I know we already closed the public hearing. Ms. Yates, I will allow one more comment if you got something you want to ask. Because I know you're in the insurance business. I know, that's why.
It concerns me that there wasn't enough money to take the building back to what it was, because that's what insurance is supposed to be doing. And my fear is that that's not what the insurance is doing. It's allowing it to be rebuilt, but whatever part of it, to
Okay, I hear you.
what would be today, what would be the type of building today, but is it being taken back to what it was, because that's what it should be?
Right. In case the public, and people virtually, what she asked is it taking it back, that this amount of money going to take it back to what it originally was?
Well, the simple answer is the county carries replacement coverage at
Okay.
today's values.
And so, and that's what the insurance company feels like is what, okay. I can't give you any more answer than that. All right, yes, ma'am. All right, so I'm entertaining a motion to go ahead and accept this budget adjustment that's sent to, from VayCorp as our insurance company, correct? For $440,000, $440,908,027. And insurance company is amazing. I wonder why they put 27 cents on that, But anyway, I don't. Maybe that's to get it right back to that original. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I got a motion from Ms. Simmons to accept this budget adjustment. Can I get a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second for discussion, please.
All right, I hear a second for discussion, so you will be allowed discussion. What's on your mind there, Mr. Rourke?
Just a couple of questions. Number one, did the board get a copy of the report that was provided to the insurance company? Because I don't recall getting a report.
I didn't see one. Anyway, Ms. Tobin, you might want to stay up here for a little while. Okay.
When I filed the insurance claim, all I was provided was the documentation from the fire departments, the accident report, and damages in pictures. The building was still in flames at that point.
Okay,
And from that point, the insurance company took it in their hands and brought people out here to look at the building.
So you handed over what we had. I'm trying to learn too.
That is exactly right.
Okay, and then the insurance company takes over.
Correct.
Pretty safe. Okay, that's good.
So was there a report from the insurance company justifying why they came up with the number? Let me ask that question that way.
Yeah, there is documentation, and I can send you everything I have.
All right, because since it was a fire, what I'm wondering is, was Dean Lewis's report included to the insurance company?
Dean didn't file a report with me for the insurance claim.
Okay, if not, who did the fire inspection for the county, and did we get a copy of that said report?
I can't answer that.
Like the fire marshal or something?
The fire report was basically an incident report from the primary company that responded. Correct, Mr. Hyde? Okay.
So let me get a point for clarification with that too, Mr. Rourke, if you would bear with me,
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind. So what I'm hearing is, what I'm thinking is, it really is up to the insurance company to dig and get as much as they want to.
Yes.
Is that right?
They had every avenue to ask any question they wanted. They were on site more than once. And like I said, they had a structural engineer come
Because they're the
in as
ones
well.
who write the check.
Correct.
Okay. That's over. Oh, I'm sorry. No more comments from the public. This is us now.
And really this question is a little bit long-winded, but it's for staff and our attorney. All right, simply put, there were some accusations about that location and some finger pointing. And I'm asking, was all necessary and legal documentation turned over to the insurance company so the insurance company could make a clear and fair decision?
Everything in hand was provided to the insurance company, and they knew everything about the building that I was made aware of when it was put on the insurance policy. From that point forward, they had insurance representatives on site to see and find everything that they wanted.
Which I believe included the original building permit,
Correct.
but despite extensive efforts, we could not find the building plans. Mr. Lewis looked, We even reached out to the original contractor, the firm that built the building, and nobody could turn up a set of the plans on the building.
All right, Mr. Roy, hold, so I think I'm, so let me, maybe I'm not asking, let me get to the nuts and bolts here. And I'm not in the insurance business, and I know I've already let the public speak, so I gotta stop it. But, so what I'm asking is, the insurance company, I don't know the process, and thank goodness my house has never burnt down, and I've never been part of that. When insurance companies come in, they have to do the investigation of what happened and why it happened. Is that correct? Did I get that? Okay. And then they decide whether, right. So if they didn't request the fire marshal to look at it, I guess they didn't request the fire, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to slope the process.
I will add to it, though, not to interrupt you, I apologize.
No.
Mr. Circle's insurance company as well had their own representatives out there, and I know that there were documentations back and forth between the two insurance companies as well, as far as the use, you know, the way the building was structured, that type of thing.
Well, right. His insurance company, his tractor caught on fire. So
answering,
actually,
what you're
there
asking.
are 3 insurance companies involved. There's ours, and they just went ahead and paid us the value as they determined the value to be. They're still trying to get money out of Mr. Circle's insurance company, and his insurance company is trying to get money out of the company that had the apparatus that's kind of started the fire. So it's a lot of rolling here,
Okay.
but the cash that's available to us is coming back to us through this check if you accept it.
I've never turned down a $400,000 check yet, but Mr. Roy scared me here. So, Mr. Roy, what do you, if the insurance is, if we're giving them everything, is there anything that is troubling you?
It is, and that's even more troubling what the county administrator said. I'd just as soon defer this until all actions are cleared to the insurance companies, especially noting that there are some accusations out in the public by previous personnel.
That could take years. That could take years. And so you're sitting on a check that could be in the coffers earning interest. That could take years. And it could possibly, you know, hold up Mr. Circle's desire to proceed on and get the building fixed if that's the way he wants to go, or our ability to go ahead and get the building fixed. I recommend against that. I would take the insurance settlement. And again, I can tell you, I literally had to give turn-by-turn directions to the insurance people to get them to the site where at that day, Mr. Hill and I were meeting with them. So they've seen the site. I mean, they've seen everything, documents, everything that we could turn over, exception of the building plans itself. No one could turn those up.
I got nothing to know, Mr. Chairman.
May I ask a question just to clarify?
Yes, ma'am.
So if the insurance companies have looked at everything, I'm still not sure what your concern is.
The concern is accusations by ex-personnel
About what? About the insurance company?
about actions taken by the county. I would say this, there's a recording that I would like to review.
Okay.
So, and I mean, y'all feel free to take it to a vote if y'all
wait a
like.
minute.
but
We're
that's
not
entirely
going to work against each other this year. We're not going to do that. And but Mr. Rourke, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You wanted to defer this because you're trying to keep us out of trouble?
Yes, sir.
That's different.
Does he have justification?
Well, Mr. Vaughn, he just said he did. Well, he said he got to review something.
And I mean, y'all welcome, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just to clarify, what I would like to review, y'all could take this back up next month. You follow what I'm saying? I can do I can look at what I need to look at and bring it before the board, before the next board meeting.
Just point of clarification. Hold that tight. Are we hindering a businessman to make a living by not accepting a check this month?
I don't think so.
It's our building.
I mean, I'm just saying, because just complete it so the board knows, I mean, everybody. I would like, my expectations was, like Ms. Ye says, is get the building back as close as we can, like the original. If this man is interested, let him buy the land. We got it on a tax map, tax roll. We're bringing in money instead of just rental. And because I don't want to own, I wish we didn't have, I want to get rid of all the property and get business people working, man, and getting it. And that's part of our economic development. So, but if Mr. Roy feels very strongly about something, I'm gonna leave this to the board to decide how you want to vote, you know.
May I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Work, I'm sorry,
You're
I'm
fine.
having a hard time following. So, if whatever you plan to review and maybe disclose, what impact would it have on this check? Should we not have gotten the check? Should we have gotten more? Should we have gotten less? What impact is?
Gotten the check.
We should not have gotten the check? Do you think that's up to the insurance companies to decide?
It could be. That's what I'm saying. I don't know this process. I'm just moving with caution. That's all.
So, good question, Ms. Shackleton. So, I hate to use this term, but because I've asked him, are you trying to keep us out of trouble? And then he don't want to cash a check. So, what I think he has not said is the word fraud. And I don't hand me any money that if something. You with me? Mr. Vaughn, what's your pack on it, if you would, and then I'll go to Ms. Simmons here to you too, just so you hear your comments.
The insurance company would come out and evaluate the damage that's been done. They have already done that. I don't know about this fraud stuff that's being alluded to tonight, and I don't get into stuff like that. I see no reason why we shouldn't accept the check. Put it in the bank and do what we need to do in terms of repairing the building and bringing it back up to the code.
Where in the
Chairman,
world is our
if I
lawyer?
may,
Is he here tonight?
No,
she's here.
Miss Alexandra.
Oh, I thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold that thought for a second, if you don't mind.
If I may.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of what he's alluding to, and we've had conversations. But the only thing that I can provide is, if you're asking me what I submitted to the insurance company, it was standard information. The insurance company did receive a copy of the building permit on this building, and they evaluated the building, on site. So they saw what the building contained and what it did not. I don't know if that helps at all, but I can offer that.
If we cash a check, have we crossed the line, we can't go back? You understand what I just said?
That's not so, Steve.
I think the question was to the attorney.
It is.
I'm not sure if there is a line that will be crossed. I'm sure that it's going to matter what is signed related to the check as well. And right now, in the board packet, I already see, of course, the check. I don't know what release or.
I got you. I see. It's so vague. So, would you be willing to entertain a motion to cash a check? Would you be willing to? Thank you. If you would be willing to amend the motion on the floor, to say, to add on that we would here give Mr. Rourke time to bring to the board his concerns and his findings, to show in good faith that we're not trying to do anything behind closed doors or anything like that. You see what I might not be stating it right. Y'all help me out.
I don't see how we're doing anything behind closed doors.
No, that didn't come out right, Chairman. I'm sorry. Do you see what I'm trying to say, Mr. Shepard, Ms. Simmons?
Well, from
If
what
Mr.
Mr.
Rourke,
Rourke is,
go right up. If
what
Mr.
Mr.
Rourke
Rourke
had,
is saying, it seems like he's saying that we've turned in information that was fraudulent for this claim. Is that what you're saying?
There's an accusation to it.
But the insurance companies investigate, they went out there. They were the ones that.
Okay.
So the insurance company did send out their own investigators,
Both
multiple
yes.
insurance companies, more than one insurance company.
All right, let's bring it to a point of question. All right, we got a motion on the floor to accept the check. I can't even remember who put it on the floor.
I did.
We did, and second by,
Me, Chairman Vaughn.
you got it right, Mr. Vaughn.
John was the one that second for discussion.
Second, I'm sorry.
I'll let it
second.
stand,
He did
Mr. Chairman, to go
second
to a
for
vote.
discussion.
Yeah, okay, okay, let's bring the point, okay. So, roll call, Mr. Costin, if you would do on this one.
All right. On this matter, Ms. Simmons?
Thank you.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Rourke, how do you vote?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Vaughn, how do you vote?
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Shuckleton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have the vote as 4-1
All right,
in favor of the motion.
part of the job of the chairman is to keep everybody a happy family. Somebody's not doing a very good job right now, so. But anyway, but good discussions, and I do truly believe if people truly believe in some way, you vote the way it's right, and we'll cash that check. And but Mr. Rourke, I would like to hear from you, if you don't mind, as a courtesy to me, your findings and what the problem might have been.
Yes, sir, will do.
All right. All right.
And Mr. Chairman, will you share that with us, the rest of the board?
Okay. If Mr. Rourke is willing to do that, I'm a man of if he says I'll share this with Steve, but the rest of them's got to ask me. I'll honor whatever he decides to do. Mr. Vaughn, you see what I'm saying?
I understand
Okay.
that, but he has brought accusations to us that needs to be.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, he's stating something that was never stated. I did not bring an accusation, I brought a concern.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Well, the concerns.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yes, we'll see. We'll get to the bottom of it, and I appreciate you bringing things to our attention, Mr. Rourke. I appreciate it. All right. Departmental reports. I see Ms.
Presentations real quick.
Oh, presentation. Oh, yeah, because you got to introduce somebody.
Yes. Matthew Huban, please come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Matthew Huban. He is accepted the position on Friday, which was after the board packet went out. He accepted the position of the maintenance supervisor here for the county complex. We are pulling him away from the Chesterfield County Public School System, where he's overseeing maintenance on a couple of different schools. The former mayor of Blackstone would like to know that he is a resident of Blackstone, a new resident of Blackstone.
And actually stated he loves Blackstone. And we didn't hold that against him.
But he'll be starting with us on the 27th, and welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Any comments you want to say? Yeah, welcome. There's I know there's a lot of work to be done, and it's some old buildings, but we appreciate your expertise and looking forward. As I tell people, everybody's got their own way. It's Steve Bowen way, it's Shackleton way, whatever. Make it the Matthew way, and making the improvements as you can. We're looking forward to it. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Glad you're on the team. All right, thank you, Mr. Costin. I'll skip that.
No problem.
Departmental reports. I see Virginia Department of Transportation. I have Ms. Bryan here, as well as Ms. Crystal Smith here, who is coming up to, okay. And Crystal, good seeing you again. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Members of the board,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Costin.
Good evening.
Since our last board meeting, you all know that we've lost our superintendent,
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Shep.
Yeah, Shep.
Curtis Shepherd.
Yeah.
It was unexpected. He was with VDOT for 42 years, and it was a huge hole for our family.
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll say this about Ms. Bryan. I like to say this. That VDOT, they are a family. I mean, when my niece got married, and my sister-in-law Janet worked for VDOT. I look around and all these VDOT people here. I said, man, this is like a meeting of VDOT people. But they're close knit, and I know that had to be hard for you guys, and it was hard for our community. And we're thankful for his family. And Mr. Costin, if we could just take for a moment here, just take a time out. I would like to send his family a special a resolution for all the work he's done in the county, and give it to Ms. Bryan to give it to the family.
Formally,
The board, would y'all?
to be formally adopted at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
formally adopted at the next meeting. And thank you, Ms. Bryant. And I can tell you love him very much. I get it.
He's a great man.
Yeah, but thank you. Take your time. If you want us to argue some more up here, and I'll give you some time.
Need some water.
That's all right.
I'm good. I'm good. I didn't think I would do that, but I'm
I
sorry.
understand.
Okay, so, in addition to the, your packet, I wanted to give you some updates on some projects. The safety study that Ms. Rourke had asked for on East Courthouse Road, that is still at the district. Track Engineering is still reviewing that. They accepted that task back in December, and sometimes it can take up to 90 days for them to be able to get to it, just because there's a lot of things in their queue. So as soon as their review is complete and we get their recommendations, we will provide that to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
There was a citizen that brought a concern about flooding on Route 611 Little Creek Road to my attention. And so we've done some research on that area. There's quite a bit of drainage that goes to this structure. It is a triple line of arch pipe, 95 inch by 67. And after some additional research this week, we have found that 2 of the 3 pipes are silted in. They're about 90% full. So we are making arrangements to have the silt removed and to allow drainage to go through all 3 pipes instead of just the one. So hopefully that will help to eliminate some of that flooding. And we're going to be looking into some additional ways to alleviate this problem in the future, because it seems to be a sandy, silty area. So this may happen again. So we're going to try to look into something to take care of that in the future. The Route 4750 Military Road roundabout, there has been some errors in conveyance of the public hearing versus the willingness to hold a public hearing for this project. Typically, on a project, if the residency has no preference for holding a willingness or a public hearing, then we reach out to the county board for their preference. In case of the roundabout here in Nottoway, the residency feels that a public hearing is the best option. I presented it at the last board meeting as a recommendation, and I should not have done that because it was already decided by the residency administrator that we were going to go with a public hearing. We did consider the board's wishes. The residency felt like holding the public hearing was the best option for the traveling public. Holding the public hearing will not delay the project, as that time is already built into the original schedule. Holding a willingness can delay the project for about 60 days. If we advertise the willingness and then somebody requests a public hearing, then we have to go through the public hearing process. VDOT does accept the responsibility for the communication error, and we apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused to the board.
Ms. Bryant, do we need to, because we voted for the willingness, didn't we?
Yes.
So what do we need to do?
It wasn't a formal action, it was a consensus.
Okay, we didn't do a formal vote. Okay, no harm done. Thank you for explaining that. I thought, well, how are we going to revert that, anyway.
No, it was no official vote.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. So at this time, we are looking to hold a public hearing at the end of March. Once a firm date is confirmed and a location, that will be provided to you at that time. But we are looking at the end of March. So we'll provide it to you as soon as we have it so that you can make arrangements. But the county board is not expected to be there. You're not required to be there. So the next project that I wanted to update you on, this project's been in the 6-year plan for quite some time, the guardrail installation on Route 723. We just completed 6 locations on 723, so when we update the 6-year plan, that project will be coming out of there. So that is complete. The UPC 93093, which is the Route 46 bridge project, a meeting is held this month to discuss a new start date. Information will be provided as soon as we get some definite dates. I hate to keep coming and saying that there's no updates, but they did have a discussion on setting the new date. The Route UPC 115405, which is the Route 460 723 project, that project is on schedule right now. And that project will require a couple of detours. It just depends on the weather and how much work we get done, but those detours will only be like over the weekend at a maximum of 72 hours. So, but there will be some detours expected during that project. And it's not avoidable, so I just wanted to let you know that. And the last thing I had was just a reminder of our 6-year plan work session next month.
Right.
So, and I will provide you all the information a couple of weeks ahead of time for you to look over for that work session. And
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again then.
That's all that I had.
That 723 intersection, that detour, I really need to be able to share that with some of the state facilities there, because it could cause them to be late or whatever, you know, 'cause that's a busy place where people go to Piedmont, VCBR, and of course, the Nottoway Correctional Center.
It's not a long detour, though.
Okay.
I think you saw on the plan.
Right,
I think I
right.
sent it, yeah. So it just goes right there through Burkeville.
Okay, not too bad.
Short,
Right.
yeah, it's
Thank
a real
you,
short
thank you.
detour.
I'm sorry, board members got anything they want to ask, Ms. Bryant?
I do. First of all, again, my condolences going out to you, the VDOT family from Mr. Shepherd. And I have one item, if you don't mind, if you could maybe assist me with this. The Chief of Police and Crew Police Department have taken up proactive measures, and they're starting to really attack Melody Lane for the speeders. They've placed a trailer out there that is reading speed limit signs now. They've got a schedule running radar. I was wondering if there's any way we can possibly get speed checked by radar signs placed on Melody Lane.
I don't know that we do that, do you? We can look into the policy.
Okay, thank you, that's all I had, thank you.
What is the speed limit on that thing?
35.
Oh, okay.
They think it's Thrills Hill without the hill.
Anyway, all right. Anything else? Anybody else? Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms.
You guys be safe out there, and thank you, Ms. Smith, for coming tonight too as well. All right, following the agenda, solid waste, anything on that, Mr. Costin?
Yes, sir.
Nothing on building inspection,
Nothing to add.
nothing on animal control,
Nothing to add.
Piedmont Health District.
We seldom ever get a report from them, but we have there in case it's a placeholder.
We used to hear from about COVID or something, that's about it, one. I don't know, I don't think we heard them then, did we?
We can.
You won't hear. No, I'm talking to the wrong
We can
guy.
adjust the agenda if you like, or keep them on there.
Keep them on there, that's important, they're part of our family here. Nottoway County Public Library, nothing.
To add.
All right, and Nottoway School Board, we have Dr. Marsha Barton here, and she sent out an email to make sure we didn't skip her, and I appreciate that. we want to done you that way.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Mr. Costin. So I'm here this evening just to speak on behalf of Dr. Grimes. She wanted to give you an update as to where we kind of were and what was going on in the school system right now. And as you're aware, we are in the midst of budget season, just like you are right now. But just so you know, we've had 3 budget work sessions and 2 public hearings on our budget at this point in time. We are still waiting, of course, the final budget from the General Assembly and information on the sales tax error that has occurred and how it will be corrected, that shortfall, and of course our final budget numbers for fiscal year 24. The school board has identified some priorities for capital improvement projects, and I do believe they've been shared with Mr. Costin. But just to highlight them, 2 immediate projects that the school board has identified as a priority are restructuring the entrances to each school building so that access is restricted and safety is enhanced. preparing for the possibility of buying out Amelia should Amelia County School Board withdraw from the Amelia Nottoway Technical Center. And just recently, there has been a focus on, and it's our third one that's of a priority, is to build a competition gym at Nottoway High School. That was the third one that was added recently. So she just wanted me to provide you tonight with an update as to kind of where we were in the process and our capital improvement projects that we have sent.
Mr. Chairman, may I just wanted to speak to Dr. Martin. I really appreciated the opportunity to participate in the school's 3-day strategic planning process, and we'll look forward to reports in the future. But I left there with a new appreciation for all that the school system does, for the challenges that you faced, and particularly for the importance of county support, financial support.
Thank you. We appreciated your involvement, and Katie was on there as well. So we are right now looking for people to serve on our action teams. So we are happy if anybody would like to serve on one of those action teams to let me know. We're building those now for our action steps on our areas that we have identified as a focus area. So thank you.
Thank you for all of your work.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add a couple of questions. On a couple of your CIP items, your capital items, on the security, are those based on some initial designs, construction design plans, as far as how the prices came in?
I will definitely get a follow-up answer, but I believe that was all based on what the facility study came back and their initial estimates based on projects that they have seen in other areas.
Okay.
I don't think there's a firm
So it's a ballpark figure.
Right, a ballpark as to what they're estimating. And that was at the time that they did the facility study, and we all know that that could be different right now, too.
Right. And then on the second one, I think February is when Amelia has to make their decision. Do we know what the date of that meeting is going to be, so we have some idea of when they're going to make that decision?
Right. If I'm correct, they have to make the notification that they would be leaving the next year, I believe is how it works. And
Right.
we have not received any notification at this time from them.
I read the agreement over, and I think February was the
I think that's around the
marker.
ballpark, but we have not received any notification at this point in time.
Thank you.
Dr. Martin,
Yes.
we're planning, so what I'm hearing too is a little bit too early at the gate for you guys. We're planning to do a little bit of send out to the department here's some budget next Thursday. But what I'm hearing is really no use meeting with any of you right now because you don't really know what money you're gonna have coming in. Am I hearing that correct?
Well, I mean, we have our preliminary calc tool that the state has sent out. They sent out an update today with an adjusted one, but because the House and the Senate are both different right now, we don't have final numbers. We're basing everything off of preliminary numbers that we have received.
Okay, all right. I just want the board to know if they don't come to that meeting, it's like nobody sliding anybody. It's just they're not ready, and we're not ready either. So. Okay.
I mean, we have ideas.
Yeah,
and,
I get you.
But nothing is firm until we get something final.
Yeah, and I think, Ms. Tomer, you heard something today regarding the budget planning, so you might want to share that with everyone.
It's not something, it was just an opinion.
Okay. But it was an experienced opinion?
It was I would assume so. It was a webinar on Virginia government and law, and the moderator of that meeting made the suggestion that it was appearing like it was the last election year, and that it may be a delayed approval of the budget. So, we're not going to get our hopes.
But they're not going to get us off the hook either of adopting by July 1, are they? Yeah, of course not. Okay.
All right. All right, well, thank you for coming.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Tell Dr. Grimes we say hello.
I will.
All right. Social Services, Mr. Rourke, you got anything over there? And then with Mr. Costin?
No, not until we get to the appointment.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Emergency Services, Mr. Buddy Hyde, Emergency Services Coordinator. Thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the board,
Hey, how you doing?
staff, good evening.
Good evening.
Also want to say good evening to all the citizens in attendance tonight and our online viewers out there. Just a couple things. Your packet contains my report as always. I just want to add a couple things as always. First thing I wanted to remind you of, and all of our citizens that are online and here tonight, the 4 p.m. burning law came into effect yesterday. That's the Virginia Department of Forestry. That's the annual burning ban for 4 p.m. burning, which means you can burn, but you have to do it after 4 p.m. So we just want to remind everybody of that. And for further information, you can go to our Nottoway County website. You can go to our Facebook page. We have all that posted. Virginia Department of Forestry has a lot of detailed information on that annual burning law. So I just want to remind citizens of that. Other thing is tornado awareness is coming up in March, and we're already prepared to start putting up social media posts the first week of March, and that is Tornado Awareness Week. So that'll be a statewide event. We'll have one day set aside for a tornado drill. We'll just ask citizens to do like we did for the earthquake drill a few months ago. Just practice where you are. You know, everybody's busy. Practice where you are. Know what you need to do where you are, whether you're in school or whether you're in a business or at home. But that is in March. Good news, Amelia County approached me. They are retooling their emergency response. They are assuming the role of EMS in Amelia County, the county is, and they needed to revise their mutual aid agreement. So we have done that. I shared it with all of the fire chiefs, all of the EMS chiefs at our monthly meeting. We had a good conversation on that. No one had issues with it, so I went ahead and had Mr. Costin go ahead and sign it beside the Amelia County Administrator's signature from them. So that's been done, and I've scanned it and sent it back to Amelia County. We are also revising all other mutual aid agreements too. That's really the first one with Amelia, but what we're looking at is a new intra-county mutual aid agreement, which will be between all of our agencies in Nottoway County, just a refresh. To make sure we're current today. You know, business is not what it was 5 and 10 years ago, so we'll make sure all of those are done. And then we're going to go to our other neighbors besides Amelia to do the same thing. And we're all in talks with that. Mr. Bowen mentioned the churches early, and I couldn't say it any better than he did. They are a big cornerstone of what we do. And we have monthly meetings, so I just wanted to say on January the 31st, we had our January meeting, and we'll have another one in a couple weeks. They really are growing, and we have a group that actually is growing a resource list for us. And that resource list is giving us all the opportunities to know who has a parking lot, who has a kitchen area, who has all kind of amenities that would help in a disaster. But more importantly, the people. We don't need the facilities as much as we need the people. And all of the church volunteers can come out to our shelters, our county shelters, and help. They can also help us in other ways like distribution of water and ice. And you know that from the past disasters that you've had in Nottoway. So that's a strong group, and it's growing. The communication system, this is an update to what I put in your report. Next Wednesday, the 22nd, we're having another RFP review committee meeting, and it's going to be at the EMS station in Crew. We're following up a meeting that we had on January the 3rd, where we actually brought all the fire chiefs, all the police chiefs, all the EMS chiefs, and their designees, and we all came together and we built the RFP. Now what we're going to do is look at what we gave them on January 3rd and see how it looks so we can roll it out to the, mail out to the vendors for proposals within the next week or two. We're a few days behind on it, but we felt like 1 week is going to be worth it. We wanted to roll it out yesterday, but we want to make sure that all the fire chiefs, police chiefs, and EMS chiefs come together again, and we're making that happen next week. And we're really looking forward to a productive, review. Now, they have it in their hands at this time. They have an electronic copy. It was sent out yesterday, and all of those chiefs will be given a week to look at it before we come together in Crew next Wednesday. On that same note, I guess you remember it was in the Courier Record as well. We received a $1 million grant from the Community-Oriented Policing Grant Program of the federal government. So that news was actually put out into the newspaper, and we've disseminated that. We are in the process now of doing the paperwork. They have to send the paperwork to us from the federal government. We are waiting on that. Representative Spanberger's office was the one that initiated it, and I know she doesn't represent our area anymore, but they will be sending us the emails to allow us to take that paperwork and move it forward. The budget process has been very detailed, and I want all of you on the board to know, as well as the public, that we've had some really good budget talks with the fire chiefs and the EMS chiefs. It's been exciting. I enjoy doing it, actually. We come together and we talk about where we are, and that's where we are at now, is just continuous budget talks. And as you know, that's going to be ongoing for the next month or so. But they have come together with their request on time. We've met individually and as a group. We will be meeting as a group again this month to discuss what other departments want. And so that gives them an opportunity to see what their neighboring department is asking for. And so far, it's been very good on the conversations. The future shows, and I just want to leave you with this, In doing a lot of the numbers over the past couple weeks and having been here now long enough to analyze everyone's situation, our biggest future focus is going to be vehicles for the fire departments and staffing payroll for the EMS departments. You can bank on that. That is absolute 100% guarantee. Those are the two largest needs moving forward. Of course, we plug in whatever those needs are as we go along. But those will be the areas of importance, and they will be the areas that they will ask the county for assistance on. Again, vehicles for fire because of the rising cost and the cost of those units per unit. And then employee payroll, in whatever fashion, shape it comes in, will be their number one challenge moving forward. And with that, I'm open to questions. That's my review, and look forward to working with you again this month. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Anybody got any questions?
I just have one.
Yes, sir.
Speaking back to the needs for the assistance from the county as far as the funding, is there any preliminary suggestions as to where that may come from? Is it simple tax increase, EMS tax per home, percentage per home, anything like that that y'all are considering?
Right. At this time, we haven't considered the source of the revenue to do something like that. We are kind of looking at the need side now. So we're catching the need side first, and then we'll figure exactly what those dollar figures are. Now, they're doing a really good job. You know, we have a CIP vehicle replacement program sheet that we're working off of. We created that about 6 months ago. That sheet is a fluid document, but it actually shows us all the way through 2038 what apparatus need to be replaced based on a lifespan. And there is a lifespan for ambulances and a lifespan for fire trucks. And just like it would be for a refuse truck or a dump truck or whatever you may have, all of it has a life. And we have identified that as a group. And we have plugged this calendar. And again, I don't have enough rows on one sheet to go past 2035, but we can project it on out to 2040 of where we are now. And we know exactly what a unit cost is today. But right now, with fire units and what Blackstone is experiencing with their ladder truck and also Crew with their tanker truck, is if you order a fire truck today, it's 2 years. It's 2 years. It used to be less than 1 year. And that's how long it takes to build one and actually deliver it and put it in service. And so you have to take all that into consideration, and that's due to COVID, as you know.
Right.
But right now, we just want to identify the need and what years we have, and then we would like to sit down. Of course, I think next week is a good opportunity to maybe look at that.
Okay.
And I know that Ms. Tomer has invited the chiefs to come to the budget planning session. Saw that on the email, and likewise, we're going to have multiple meetings with them too.
Thank you.
Okay. Right.
Sir, just a thought, and I got to be careful what I say because I always put people in a bad situation. I was really impressed with the emergency operations center. I really was. I mean, and Mr. Costin called me. He said, "You look like a kid in the candy store" when I walked in. And but I really was. Have you considered maybe having an open house day so the public could come in and see the emergency operations center, just so they know where it is, they feel comfortable, and know that we do have a place that we can get together and do an emergency?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We don't have a date, but you know, Mr. Costin and I talked about it, and also I believe Billy Colburn had asked me one time, when we do open it up, can we get a little bit of article? And we will. We'll provide an article where we can put it in the newspaper on the details. Obviously, I can outline all the equipment, you know, the new pieces that we have. I think it'd be great to just have people come and take a look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody said something.
It is our center.
Yeah, right. And of course we got the Reverend up front right there. But if you bring food, they all show up. It's like Baptist. It's a Baptist thing. I don't know what it is.
Well, if we could actually have someone maybe donate some food, hors d'oeuvres, and we can go ahead and put it on the table.
If I knew
nice. I don't know if we need a ribbon cutting or not, but we can certainly open the door and have them come on down.
Yeah, I got you. All right, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Planning and Economic Development, Mr. Greg Zodi. Thank you again.
Thank you. I don't want to belabor the rest of the meeting. What I would like to point out very quickly, as zoning administrator, I did close out a zoning violation near the lake, and everything's good on the zoning side, and I've been an intermediary between Mike Vielecki and the property owner. about getting revised plans in for review, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
But I'm good on that. I do want to let you know, as a zoning administrator, that I have 2 cases that I think are, to me, are probably the most significant. One is on Woodsman's Road. It hasn't been resolved in several years, and the other one is in between, forgive me if I maul the name, Lewiston Plank Road and Old Schoolhouse Road.
Right, I think, yeah, okay.
There's campers there.
Campers, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I've written 2 or 3 letters. The deadline was late November, and I try to give people some grace period because it is sort of a graceful time of year, and nothing.
So is people living in the campers and just?
They weren't there that day, I don't think. I mean, when I went, I'm not being facetious for once.
No.
But when I went out there, last March with the former building official and Jamie, there was nobody living there, but, you know, the kennel of dogs really bothered me and stuff like that. And I need to go out again to get some additional photographs. But you have unlicensed trailers or expired tags on those. And theoretically, it could also be called a junkyard if the vehicles aren't rideable or drivable or out-of-date tags. Everything's expired. But that is a campground. From a zoning perspective, that is nothing but a campground, a hunt club. And you have to go through a special exception process for that. And I noted that I always note if they want to do something, they have to go through a particular process. So I just want to let you know that I'll work with Mr. Costin so we can get those queued up, because I've heard more about those 2. Well, second to the first one, but I've heard more about those sites and any others. So I just want to let you all know
Landowner is, do we talk to the landowner? I mean, I'm confused.
Let's not identify the landowner.
Right. Yeah, I got a returned certified receipt.
Okay.
Because I always send that to certified.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that's what a lot of times people don't understand is the due process applies to what we do as well as, you know, the criminal process. And it's hard to get a clock running to set a 30-day clock to fix something when the people don't accept the notice. Whether it's set certified or, you know, sometimes you can't nail it to a front door because there is no front door.
I got you. I'm with you now. This is what I had last night.
Lastly, I would just like to note that I gave the Planning Commission our public comments, and I just wanted you to have those. It's a work in progress for staff, because instead of just me referring to everything as belongs in solar ordinance, no. It has to have some, in my opinion, specificity. And I think there's some very good comments in there, excellent comments in there. And I do thank the public for attending the 26th meeting, our joint public hearing. I want to thank both you and the Planning Commission for working together. That means a lot, and it helps the process. So thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate it. All right. We got constitutional office reports and comments. I didn't, Ms. Brown, I didn't see her. Sheriff Jones, you got anything back there? Thank you for coming tonight, protecting the community. Appreciate that. Ms. Myatt, the treasurer. Christy Hudson, the commissioner of revenue. And Leanne Walsh is not here because she's not coming down. I saw her. She coming up. I got a feeling. No.
Actually, I was not going.
I'm sorry.
You have the reports from me in the packet. If you have any questions, please.
Okay. And thank you for reaching out to us too as well. Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I did have one question. Did you get the update on the letter that was going to the AG?
All right.
The motion that we passed 3 weeks ago?
Do you mind coming up? Oh, do you mind coming to the podium? So the people who are not Zooming, streaming, did I say that right? Would know.
I do not have any update on that.
So what are we talking about now?
Well, 3 weeks ago, we passed a motion to send a letter to the AG to ask for assistance either through the Attorney General to get either the Attorney General to send an attorney down here to prosecute the cases from VCBR, or to do ask to support us in a request going to the governor for a budget for funds for her to get another attorney.
I remember the discussion, and I read over it today, but we missed it. I'll take that, but it was somewhat confused because I think there was some discussion about it was too late in the budget process with the General Assembly or the Governor's office, but we'll get a letter out in the next week.
So what we'll do, Ms. Walters, if you would, and bear with us, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's put it in unfinished business if we could. That, Andrea, if you don't mind. Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's flip over the team. Appointment to Planning Commission, Mr. Costin, you got the floor.
Yes, sir. We have received a notice. We had this was on the docket for the work session last week, and it's one of the items we did not get to. But you have a list of the Planning Commission members and the locations that are vacant. And again, it's this district. This is the district designations after redistricting. And the board knows we received earlier this week notification that the redistricting was found to be with no objections by the Office of the Attorney General. I'll speak to that later during my report. Basically, I think do you want to carry this over to the next work session? I think that was the thought last Thursday. Is anything we didn't get to last Thursday, you would carry over to the next one?
Yes.
That's what we agree.
Yeah, so that was on the agenda and I didn't get to it. I mean, what I'm asking the board to be thinking about is that we need to take that 58 items to do and see if we can reduce them. Some things might be a little bit, I don't say repetitive, but it can be combined, you know. So if we could look at that and then, as Mr. Abbott has brought up today, you know, let's start small if we have to. Let's pick 3 top items and we need to go for it. And we heard, we heard tonight a little bit, water should be it, the animal shelter should be it. So we need really to make a decision and have a good strategic plan. I know you can't have 20 items and then have 20 strategic plans all at once. It's got to be a living document. It's got to grow. And I think people get frustrated because, and I've seen this many times in government. You have a goal and we're here and we think we're just going to go there, but it doesn't work that way. It goes zip, 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 and then you get there. And I know people get aggravated with that, but we got to keep moving and do that zip, zip, zip all the way up the ladder. So, any questions, any comments about that? The only concern I have if doing the process of reducing, if we decided to reduce the planning commission to a certain number, and we're trying to do that through nutrition, if we do that with the amount what people have now, we might not have a quorum, and that bothers me. So how do we do that? And we need a quorum because we need to take action. We got zoning that we got to get taken care of. Are you with me? So. That's a discussion or something we got to be thinking about. Anyway, all right. Appointment recommendations for BZA, which is Building Zone.
Board of Zoning Appeals.
I was close.
And again, we do have one member who has expressed an interest in being reappointed. And we also have one member who has would like to be considered to be removed from the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's Mr. Allen, and but he would like to stay on the Planning Commission. As you factor that in, and again, for everyone's awareness, the board only recommends appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Those appointments are actually made by the Circuit Court.
That's right, I remember that. So Mr. Allen wants to come off, and that's District 3? 3? Mm-hmm. That's yours, Ms. Simmons. And you don't have anybody in mind tonight. So we recommend, and then the judge swears them in, right?
Right. We just received this communication from him yesterday. Excuse me, today at 9:45 this morning.
Okay.
We just got it.
Does an excellent job on the Planning Commission. All right. So we need to keep that on unfinished business, I take it, so we can move on? Is that?
It's either that, or you could go ahead and recommend Mr. Collins.
Mr. Collins to stay on it, and he is,
District 5, I believe.
okay, so we could get that one. Yes, it is.
A
It is.
motion for
Yes,
that?
yes, ma'am. I'm entertaining a motion to appoint.
Recommend.
Gotcha, because the judge got to do it. Mr. Bill Collins for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
We got a proper motion and a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, but we'll still keep unfinished business with the replacement of District 3, okay? All
And
right.
I'll be thinking about it.
Yes, ma'am. And,
Want to, thank you.
appointment on social services, I think Mr. Costin and maybe Mr. Rourke wanted to say something about that together. I know he mentioned it.
Well, I just basically reprinted my memo, cover memo to Ms. Reed's notification that there is an appointment that needs to be made.
Mr. Chairman, after discussion with District 5 representative, and we have reached, I have reached out to an individual, and I'd like to move for Ms. Monica Hazelwood Frisbee from District 5 in Blackstone, be appointed to the Department of Social Services Board. Her name is spelled MonicaHazelwood hyphen Frisby.
All right, I got the Monica Hazelwood hyphen, and what's the last part?
Frisbee, Frisby.
She's in District 5.
Yes, that's correct.
And there is, currently there is no.
Why is District 2 appointing people from District 5?
Yes.
Mr. Rourke talked to me about it. He had a
Okay.
recommendation, and I
Okay,
agreed.
okay.
That would be fine.
Oh, I see what you're hitting at. All right, so we got a, okay. So I'm entertaining a motion to appoint Social Services Board, Monica Hazelwood / Frisbee, if I'm saying that right, to that, and from District 5. Would you be willing to entertain that, Ms. Shackleton?
Yes.
Yes,
so
okay.
moved.
Okay, so moved. And got a second?
Second.
All right, got a second from Mr. Rourke. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you, and thank y'all for doing your homework on that one. Solid waste study contract. I know everybody's excited about talk about solid waste.
All right, so as you know, we put out an RFP. We received one request. The board decided to put it back out. This is part of that zigzagging to get there.
I get you.
Mr. Bowen. And we put it back out and received one request again. The board decided to proceed on to negotiate. The county staff reviewed a proposed contract, as did the council. And that contract in its final agreed to form by both parties was sent under separate cover to the board. It's a little thick document, but I do have copies here if anybody wants to see them. But they were sent out to you under separate copy on February 1 to allow you time to review the document. Staff does recommend this contract be approved to advance the project, and a suggested motion follows. And again, this is the project to study all aspects, present and future, on the operations of the county's solid waste. That's everything from convenience centers to tipping fees to the landfill operations. Everything's on the table. Be happy to take any questions you have.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, ma'am. Help
And I
yourself.
don't want to make this tedious, but I did have some questions, if you don't mind.
right.
So we did have, I noticed on page 1, conspicuous and fair notice about each party represents, so it has consulting an attorney. So we have had a legal
Yes.
counsel review this.
We have.
When, in the pages of the contract, when time and expense, any work performed on a time and expense basis will be invoiced in accordance with, is that in addition to the contract price, do we know?
Can you give me a page, please, ma'am?
Page 2 of 18.
2.2A.
2.2A.
Yeah.
And what I'm wondering, is that work that's done on a time and expense basis, is that incorporated into the contract price, or is that in addition to?
I believe that's incorporated into the contract price. Faith, I'm putting you on the spot because I knew you were not the attorney on this one.
I'm not sure, we would have to look into that, I'm not sure if there's mention.
So some needs to be reviewed, gotcha.
Okay, you know anything?
No, let's get it right. Let's get it right the first time.
So, in Exhibit A, and the work described, work to be performed, evaluation of solid waste management program. Are there any, and I probably missed it, any other additional details describing the complete scope of the work, what's included in that?
There is a reference in here to the RFP, to the work that was outlined in the RFP, but I don't know what page that would be on.
Okay. And kind of the same question, Exhibit B, reimbursable expenses. Are those reimbursable expenses in addition to the contract price? Be invoiced at 6% of labor? So are they in addition to the contract price? So is there the potential that we have time, work on time and expense and reimbursable expenses that would come in over and above what we're looking at as the contract price? Just don't want us to have any surprises.
Right. Again, I would refer back to the RFP, but if you just want to give me all of your the questions, and I can just take them back to the attorneys.
Okay. And the last one, well, next to the last would be on Exhibit D, references reliance on TRC work product. And again, that's the question, what is that?
That would be their final report.
Okay. Well, that's on the final report, okay. And then this company.
TRC used to be Draper Aiden, yes.
And TRC, I think they're based out of New Jersey now.
They are, but their local office is still the same local office that we work with, yeah.
And what is the county's typical procedure for vetting companies for which we are about to enter large contractual relationships?
Well, actually, ideally, and we'll discuss this when we get to the audit, is we would review their proposal, which we did, and we would conduct an interview. There's no vetting of their financial situation. I'm not in, I have no idea at all that there's a problem. We do have requirements in the RFP which they reflected in their response and is also in the contract that they have coverage for insurance and whatnot. But if you give me those concerns, I'll pass those back.
Perfect, that's good. Ms. Shackleton, thank you for doing your homework on that and looking into that contract. But you brought a good point. You know, you're talking about the scope, and I was kind of hoping that what we get out of this, that we would have options. You know, option A, if we do this, this might save us this much money. Or what? I mean, to me, I felt like I wanted to do the study because. If y'all correct me, we're thinking different ways here, but the landfill is very costly. And so we're trying to figure out how can we save taxpayers money and what do we need to do to improve that. We didn't hire Mr. Costa or anybody else to be a landfill specialist, you know, and so it's really difficult.
Yeah.
But you do see money going away in that area. So,
if I may, Mr. Chairman, going to the response. What they're proposing is an evaluation of the existing system in consideration of options.
Okay.
That's a phase one. Ideally, they would be able to get that done during this fiscal year, depending on when we start the contract. Phase two, which will roll over to the next fiscal year, would be an evaluation of the chosen options for more detailed evaluation. So you're going to probably get a list of about 4 or 5 options.
Right.
And the board will have to pick 1 or 2 to look at more in depth. So you will have, in short, you will have some options, and then some options that can be developed even further.
What I don't like about studies, once you do a study, what you gonna do with it? Okay? You may do something with it you didn't want to do with it, you know what I mean? Because, anyway, but it's needed. We see it's a problem, and we're trying to figure out how do we rectify this problem. Anyway, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, for clarification, if Mr. Costin's going to be looking into that, I'm hesitant to vote tonight on this. If Ms. Shelkerton as well has concerns, I would just, my suggestion would be if Ms. Shelkerton has additional concerns, that we defer this into the next board meeting, or unless we have a special call meeting.
I concur, unless we could just, if I had that list, that I could shoot that right back to the attorneys.
Okay, I can get that to you. And it's just not so much concerns, but just clarification of some things.
Okay. So to keep the process going, because we can vote in a work session, correct?
I think you have to put it on as a special meeting to take an action.
Here we go again. We might kick a can down the road another month. Is everybody okay to put on unfinished business in January, February? What month is it? March? Our unfinished business list is getting big, and our finished business is getting
How do you, Mr. Chairman, how do you feel about it? Do you think?
No, you done scared me now. Right. I mean, I want to write the first time.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I think this is an important study, and we want to move forward with it. Before we enter this contractual relationship for this amount of money, I just want to make sure that we're all comfortable that we're gotten everything.
I get you. So we'll refer to next meeting. I will tell you now, if somebody comes up and wants a presentation in the next meeting in budget time, and we got citizens need to speak, no presentations. I really feel like if we're gonna do presentations, let's have a special meeting for presentations and not have special, because this is stuff that we got to dig into and get it right. So anyway, if that's okay with the board, and since there's no presentations next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. New business. Thank you, Ms. Shackleton, and thank you, Mr. Costin, for getting this stuff together, and all the team that helped that. We got new business. We got dog confinement. Mr. Costin, can you introduce this to us?
Yes, this is standard. Historically, the county has set the months of April and May for the purposes of confining dogs. The reasons are for protecting wildlife and an opportunity for the animal control officers to check on the status of licensing. This is in accord with Section 38-19 of the County Code. The suggested motion would set the dates of April 1 through May 31. That would be the entirety of all of April and all of May 31.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
All right, so I hear Mr. Vaughn the suggested motion is to establish a dog confinement period of April 1st through May 31st in accord with Section 38-19 of Nottoway County Code, and further direct the staff to advertise the 2023 confinement period via social media and publication in the community's newspaper. I didn't really hear you say that, but that's what your motion is, correct, Mr.
Yes,
Ron?
that's correct.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion to talk? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you, Mr. Costin. We got the Virginia 250 Committee. Mr. Zodi, you back at the plate.
Thank you, and I just left my Louisville Slugger in my vehicle. Okay, this is really focused, the ask, first of all, is $3,600. This is a tourism and marketing effort to draw people to our county. As I mentioned at our 26th meet, this grant opportunity was presented to me earlier that evening, and the following clears any confusion, and I've attached further detail about the grant program, as well as an email from Stacy Martin, and she's the grants director for Virginia Tourism Corporation. So Nottoway County is, as you may know, Nottoway County is participating in the Road to Revolution event being held throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia and all the states included in the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The program is sponsored by the Virginia Tourism Corporation and the VA 250 Commission, of which we're a part of. The event will kick off in March of this year and continue through July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. There's pending legislation under review to extend commemoration activities and the VA 250 Commission through December 31st, 2031 to fully embrace all the Revolutionary War years against the backdrop of our nation's history, especially as it relates to the Battle of Yorktown that will have its 250th commemoration on October 17th, 2031. We ask that you consider during budget planning a potential annual appropriation so that the county can participate in these matching, marketing, and commemoration grant programs through 2031. So moving forward with the VTC, we will be marketing and sponsoring events, placing signs at the historical sites pertaining to the Revolutionary War, have educational informative programs at the schools, libraries, etc. History mobiles will be placed throughout the county to educate the public about the Revolution and other educational venues, including the famous citizens of the county. We will need to apply for grants to make all this happen, starting with a marketing leveraging matching grant. It's a one-to-one match by each locality, which we will need to apply for before February 28th for a matched award of $3,600. Therefore, we're requesting a $3,600 match for this grant. If the board supports this funding request and the grant is submitted by February 28th, no money will be required if we do not receive the matching grant for $3,600. Another matching grant for $10,000 is a one-to-one cash match by the locality, by the VA Virginia 250 Organizational Committee, whose application is due by possibly April or June. Stacy wasn't sure. And now that staff is aware of the upcoming grant opportunities, and I've attached those, we can plan better for these future grants and inform the board in a more timely manner. In staff's recommendation, the board of supervisors provide a match of $3,600 and support the submission of the grant application by the February 28th deadline. And,
Can you say that again? No, I'm kidding. So basically, if we don't get the grant, then no harm done. We just need to appropriate the $3,600.
Yes, sir. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring Ms. Figler, Peggy Figler, with the historic site. She's one of our partners.
Oh, she's over in the corner. What are you?
And she's.
Oh, well, and it's not over with yet. You still got to be here a while. No, I'm playing. Any comments you want to say?
Yes, this is a huge endeavor by the state of Virginia to bring about tourism to all the counties, the road to the revolution. And most people in this county don't know anything about what happened here. And it's a lot more important than everybody thinks it is. And we have partners working with us. They're all doing research. And we're coming up with a lot of ideas. It would be great to get more education going on the subject and make kids aware of what happened here. These signs are really important, and unfortunately, they're very expensive. And what we're trying to do on the committee with the Historical Association is we're working out a way that we can buy less large signs from the actual 250.org committee and buy some smaller signs that aren't so expensive to mark off other designated areas of interest, okay? And the thing about it is that we had to figure out how to get this $10,000 matching grant. Because like I said, the signs are not cheap. They're running $3,000 a piece.
Wow. That's a big one.
Yeah. The former governor's sister owns a sign company.
You could have left that out.
Let's just say there are lots of former governors. We'll just leave it with that.
Okay.
That's right, so you don't know who it was.
All right. So, okay.
And they're very expensive, so instead of, they said we should buy like so many $3,000 signs, and the smaller ones, they wanted $2,000.
Where do we put this very expensive sign at? In the bank or something? You know, it's an expensive sign.
Well, we figure we don't have to put a lot of big ones out. We're only going to put maybe 3 or 4 out. We're just going to space them in important spots and then direct people with that sign or with an adjacent sign
that we pay for a lot less money to tell them where certain areas
Okay,
are.
like how to get there.
They're really big on placing the signs where a certain event occurred,
Okay, I got you.
okay? Because people will be driving all over Virginia doing this,
Right.
because there are people really into it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've thought about the $10,000 thing, that when we all got together and talked about it, we can get each town to sponsor and bring us some money towards that grant. Plus, you know, we can approach banks
Right.
and other sponsorship businesses.
So we need,
Bring up this 10, we're not gonna worry about that immediately, but we want that to be in the back of your head.
Right.
About the $10,000 grant. Now, this Stacy Martin, she seems to feel like we should go for 10 to 20,000 every year, and that's not gonna happen. But
No, let's
I
take-
want us to get as much money as we can. It's really important that kids understand what really happened here
right.
and who was really involved. Because most people don't know who fought in the Revolutionary War.
All I remember, and I know you're gonna say, but I used to sing a song, Peter Francisco, Peter. Do y'all remember that?
But don't sing it now.
Well, my wife said she ain't never heard of Peter Francisco.
Well, what's interesting is Peter Francisco was a guy, and
Oh, so it is a real person.
oh yeah, and
John, did you hear that?
I
he
did.
was adopted. That guy was adopted. But
Okay.
anyway, that happened on West Creek Road.
You weren't in Mr.
What
Vaughn's
people
history
don't
class,
understand is
obviously.
West Creek Road was called the Chair Road. It was called that because Daniel Jones lived on it, and so did Benjamin Ward. They're both captains in the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
They raced horses up and down that road.
All right, hold on, Ms. Figg. Let Miss, after, before I get off track again. Sorry, Ms. Sheridan.
Mr. Zadie, just to clarify, so right now you want approval for the 3,600
Right.
match. When does this 10,000, the additional 10,000 matching grant, and you're going to be asking for annual appropriations through 2026?
That's something I think we should discuss at the budget session.
Yeah, so you need,
You know, it all depends on how much we
I think she's
need
trying to
at
get
the time.
startup
I
money, I
think that
guess.
this
Is
is
that
a
what
good,
she's saying?
solid start.
I guess.
yeah, so we can approve. So you're looking at startup money.
Start. I don't
so-
think, once the signs are up, it's
Right.
only about events. You know, and like I said, we're going out of our way to negotiate with another sign company to make smaller signs to direct people to different sites and people. William Fitzgerald was injured at Guilford Courthouse.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question for clarification. All right, it says if you don't get the matching money, you don't have to pay the money. All right, so let's just, for giggles, I want to add the other part to that. Let's say the 3,600 gets the match approval and y'all get that, but let's say the $10,000 has no match, no funding or anything like that, and y'all cannot proceed forward. Does the 3,600 come back, or do y'all keep the 3,600?
No, we keep it.
The 3,600 is a separate grant from the 10,000.
Okay. so
That's what I'm
separate.
saying, if we get the initial investment, but can't get the follow-up investment.
Then we bought one sign.
Right.
You get two.
Okay, excuse me. I'm a better singer than I am in math. So what do y'all want to do? I mean,
Everybody else is participating.
I know it,
And everybody
right.
else is making a big deal about it.
I'm okay with it, and here's what I have to say this, okay? I am very concerned about Nottoway's finances. We are trying to close the loopholes where people's pockets have been get hit with late filing fees and stuff like that. And just want to make sure that any investments we get into, we're going to at least try to get that return back on.
I think tourism and tourism is part of our. We've got to get that comprehensive plan in your hand. That's your living document, but that's in there. The importance of tourism, and you can't measure tourism. You can't really measure it. Right, it's hard. So.
Yeah, and you know, we also, if I could, we also have the Virginia Crossroads where that's more focused on the Civil War. And I know
Okay.
the chairperson really well, and that they seem to be good people and trustworthy.
All right. Any more comments, questions? What's your pleasure, board? Let's put it up for. I put the question on the floor. Point of question. Tick, tick.
You said you had
You ready
point
for?
of question.
Well, I mean, I should have said it that way. Do you want to go ahead and put a motion on the floor to take the baby steps with the 36?
Yes, sir.
And I think that's what they're looking at for startup.
I'm good with that. I mean, didn't somebody say in here, LRA meeting, you got to spend money to make money?
That was me.
Okay, so we did say that, and we did agree at the authority meeting. So, okay, there is a precedent set. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move the Board of Supervisors to provide a match of $3,600 and support the submission of the grant application due by February 28th, 2023 deadline.
All right, I got a motion from Mr. Rourke stating such. Anybody can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, I do have a second from Ms. Shackleton. Any further discussion? Any clarifications that you need from Ms. Figler and as well as Mr. Zodi? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for getting it started.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave this topic generally.
Thank you.
Again, on the work session agenda from last week, you had the 250 commission. The chairs and I met with Blackstone, and they too have formed their own commission and have asked about perhaps combining commissions and adding in representation from Crew in Burkeville. I've been thinking about this a little bit, perhaps even someone from the school system to address the educational piece. So with you all's permission, I'd like to put on, and again, we didn't get to talk about it at the work session, but would we be able to consider kind of reforming the commission that you all created using Mr. Zodi as the point of contact in the Historic Society, but then kind of reform it with someone from each of the towns, someone from the Historic Society, someone from the schools?
Mr. Chairman, I think anything we can do to bring the towns together is a win-win.
Amen.
So I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll be in contact with the town managers and on the matter.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I've already incorporated those people in our major committee.
Oh, okay.
They've been coming to the meetings, they all got books. Books were donated to all the committee members by an anonymous donor.
Okay.
Are these representatives appointed by the towns, though?
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay.
We've got Greg Eanes is representing Crew, and Jake Allman is representing Blackstone.
To clarify, I believe Mr. Costin's asking appointed from the governmental bodies.
In other words, I think what they're saying is, did you?
Mr. Allman is on town council.
Right.
Like, we don't have an appointment from here.
The head of it.
Well, we appointed Greg as point of contact.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but if we kind of reformat it and repackage it, that's what I drew from the conversation with Blackstone, was that they wanted to appoint their own person.
Right.
We like to keep everybody together and be all on the same page.
So the answer to your question is, did the town actually do the appointment, or was it drafted by?
Right.
Right. Did it go in front of the town council to be voted on? Let's use Mr. Eanes, for example. Did Crew Town Council actually vote on that or appoint that? Or did
I believe so. The mayor had something to do with it. I know that. He was appointed to be the head of it.
What? Yeah, do a reach out, do a little homework on that if you don't mind. Anyway, that's fine, but.
And I know Greg was.
Okay.
At the town council.
All right.
I mean, not Greg, Jake.
Yeah, Jay's on council.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
Okay.
Greg Allman. I keep thinking of Greg.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Figler. Thank you. All right, let's keep on moving. Thank you so much. Good job. All right, we got the consent calendar in front of us, and Ms. Tomer, would you present that, please?
You've all been presented a copy of the consent items. It contains the January operational expenditures for all funds, 2 budget adjustments for the sheriff totaling $29,628.12. Both of those are insurance payments for damaged sheriff's vehicles. One was a repair and one was a total loss. And there's a budget adjustment for the library for $300 from the Dolly Parton Imagination Library Fund.
Okay, and no amendments, that's it?
No, sir.
All right, what's your pleasure, board?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Simmons to approve this consent calendar, and properly seconded by Mr. Vaughn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Ms. Tomer, for that presentation there. The correspondence information items, the CRC is in your package, and Southside SPCA. Does anybody have any comments or something they got concerns about in that informational items? All right. Mr. Costin, you got the floor, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You have the rundown there on the meetings, the non-regulatory, the non-routine meetings that I've attended. I had a great lunch with Colonel Shaver, and we discussed the renaming ceremony, which is now no longer tentative for March 24. It is set for March 24, and all the board members have received an invitation to that event. I've gotten 2 responses already, if you just let me know, and we'll coordinate with that, and also take up the issue of other people to be invited that we discussed earlier. The status, there's been a lot of conversation about the projects. One of the projects is the improvements to obtain energy efficiency here. That's continuing. We are actually ahead of schedule, and we'll be turning to HVAC duct cleaning. And that will probably be over the course of several weekends, so it doesn't interrupt operations in any of the offices and create trip hazards. It's very noisy. None of the constitutional officers chose to participate in the county's personnel policy rewrite, so revisions to the questionnaire have been made and forwarded to the project lead with Sands Anderson, and we anticipate a draft document for staff and the board review and comment before final adoption by the board. Ideally, we'll hope to have that in place by July 1. Responses to the request for proposals for audit services were received. They've been open. We received responses from 2 firms, Robinson, Farmer, and Cox of North Chesterfield and UHY LLP of McLean. In a separate communication, what I have suggested is that myself, Ms. Tomer, Supervisor Shuckleton, and a representative of the school board serve as basically a review and interview committee. Now, we got 7 copies of the document, and I can give all the board members a copy so you can review it and then pass any questions on back to me. Again, that's a recommendation to form that group to review and interview. And I think, Ms. Shuckleton, this goes to your question earlier about the solid waste. With only 1 applicant, no sense in having an interview. Whereas with this, we have some competition. And let me conclude. Recruitment for several positions are underway, and I would like to note again, we did receive notification earlier this week that the Attorney General issued no objection to the redistricting plan. So we have immediately been coordinating with all the various parties, the school board, obviously the registrar's office, Department of Elections. The next step in this process is to do some GIS magic. We do our GIS based on shape files, and apparently the electoral board uses a system called Veris, which goes down to the street files. And so there's having to be some conversion done. I talked with Miss Foster, who you know was the original creator of our GIS program for this project, and she indicated that it would have been nice if they had told us up front that they needed a different type of shapefile, but so the conversion's being done on the back end. One final thing, well, of course, I'm almost happy to take any questions you might have on these or any other issues, but I'd like to take a moment and thank everyone for their consideration and condolences as my family dealt with the passing of my father-in-law. That was ongoing, literally ongoing. The last meeting, I've received cards, I've received phone calls. I even had one nice lady last night pull me aside and give me condolences. Oh, so I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And my entire family appreciates it.
The celebration of life is next Thursday.
Celebration of life is next Thursday, but it's time, so I will probably be back here right at 4 o'clock for the meeting.
That'd be fine. All right. Any clarifications, anything you want to ask Mr. Costin this time? Was this a report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you do have something.
I have one question. Where Mr. Costin met with you and I, Steve, and representatives from Blackstone, I have one concern that I believe is causing a little conflict between board members that I would like to get clarification on, and that's about the conflict of interest for McGuire Woods. I believe we were information was shared by Mr. Costin, I think should be shared with this board about that conflict of interest as he understands it.
So it's all right, in that conversation, I think it was said that Mr. Doug Stanley, it felt like it was a conflict of interest, and so did another mayor, I can't think who it was, but anyway, I haven't spoken to Mr. Costin about that, and I apologize to you, sir, but and the reason why I haven't spoken to him, Ms. Simmons did ask me the other day, and she'll be open to it. She said, well, Steve, explain to me what is the conflict, and I couldn't, and I apologize to you, Ms. Simmons, and I was going to try to find out some more details, but Mr. Costin, you know, if you can say it, you know, how it was felt, it is a conflict. Could you explain that to us?
Well, let me say that the scenario was a conversation between myself, a group conversation between myself, the attorney for the county, it was Mr. McRoberts, who had been in communication with the attorney for Prince Edward. And those two attorneys said, you know, we probably ought to loop in Ted and Doug. So Doug Staley, the Prince Edward administrator. So the four of us were on a Zoom call. And as Doug was reviewing the project, the Sandy River project, he alluded to the fact that McGuire Woods had been involved in the project. That's what I reported back. I've not made a determination. It's not my place to make a determination if there's a conflict or not. What I said was, McGuire Woods has been working on this project on behalf of Prince Edward.
On the water project.
On the Sandy River project.
On the Sandy River project. And so there were some discussions of whether, well, I'll let Ms. Simmons speak, you know, on that if she wants to. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to speak for you. I apologize, ma'am.
I don't know what a conflict is. I did speak to Mr. White about this. And he said that before anything was issued, before anything was even talked to in Nottoway, that all of that was checked to see whether there was a conflict, and there was no conflict. And he should be sending a formal letter to the board and each board member to let them know there's no conflict.
Okay.
But Mr. Chairman, if I can.
Yes, yes, sir.
If we're not pursuing a relationship with McGuire Woods, isn't this a moot issue?
Well, true. Yeah, well, let me back up. Through my lenses, it really will become a conflict if we actually establish a relationship. Now, I may be wrong on that, but anyway, that's yeah. I mean, it's a good point. I don't know. It's a good point because we never established a relationship with McGuire Woods.
That's correct.
Right. We had discussions.
That's correct.
Right. Okay. Anybody want any input on that? Okay. I would like to put it, I mean, we're going to get the letter, and it's going to say, and we're probably going to get the letter, and it's going to say it's not a conflict, but if we haven't established a relationship, I would like to find it. We've heard from our towns, when we put the white paper out, they are not interested in the board getting involved, any type of being authority in water, because when we put the white paper out, it said if it's in collaboration of the towns. There is no collaboration of the towns, but all mayors made that very clear to me, so I'd like to put that issue to rest if we could. But anyway, that's my expectations. But I'm one of 5, so. All right, thank you,
Well, I have something else to say.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
The talks with McGuire Woods, which people probably don't understand in here.
Okay.
But the talks with McGuire Woods was not to hurt anyone. It was to help Nottoway County establish water for the whole county.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with one town or the other town, but I was talking about Crew because I live in Crew. And if you get water for one, then you have water for others. And you know that that's the thing out here about Prince Edward coming into Nottoway, running water into Nottoway. Would you rather for someone to come in and help us? Or would you rather for us to sit there like Mississippi and not have any water?
Okay.
But you know, that's up to the people in crew but I guess because I brought the thing to the table that it was a problem, but I worked very hard to get those people to come here to talk to us about that, but nobody's interested in it. I guess they'd rather for us not to have water. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Moving on. Thank you for your report, Mr. Costin, and please again give your wife our condolences, and your family as well. Comments from the members of the board. I will start with the Vice Chairman, Mr. Rourke.
Mr. Chairman, board members, members of the public, I think it's time to state my position on solar. Solar brings in additional revenue, keeps taxes lower, and goes along with not telling people what to do with their own property. I further believe the county has a golden opportunity to use this land out at Fort Pickett and place a solar facility on it. Nottoway County needs to adopt this ordinance to protect this county. I'm sorry, I was checking that mic, something went dead. To protect this county moving forward. However, it appears the majority of citizens I talk to do not want it yet. This reluctance to solar was once again on full display last night in Burkeville. This is not solar never, it's never now. With more advancements in technology and additional time for systems to get better quality components from USA-made facilities, I believe the citizens may accept it along with other additional restrictions. The citizens are loud and clear to the point that they are willing to pay additional taxes rather than have solar. There is a growing cost to the services the county is required to provide for its citizens by law: fire, rescue, police, animal control, the landfill, and so on. The schools have a tremendous need of additional funds. They are requesting for improvements in safety, but yet the majority says no to solar. So as long as the citizens say they are willing to accept the tax increases to pay for services, I will stand by all my bosses and supervisors, which are the citizens, and say no to solar at this time. If the citizens change their mind, so will I. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rourke. Vice Chairman Rourke, excuse me. Supervisor Simmons, any comments from you tonight?
Well, I just would like to say that Nottoway County is a divided county now. And we're going to have to learn to work together because we're not now. Things that are being put out are separating people and putting people in different positions that they shouldn't be in. We're supposed to work together. And for some reason, I don't think we've learned to do that, to work together. We think that some people can do better than others on different projects. And that's not so. We all are here to work with our citizens, work for the county, to make sure everything goes smooth. That's why we're here. But sometimes, some people want to lead and they don't want others to be a part of it. And that's not the way we should be. We should be as one. We should bring ourselves together. No matter what you think or what your position is, if I disagree with you, that doesn't mean I don't like you. That don't mean I'm against you. If you disagree with me, fine, you disagree with me. It's okay. But don't get upset because someone disagrees with you. You think they're against you. I'm not against anybody. And I want to put that out. I'm not against anybody, but I want to move forward. And Nottoway County is sliding backwards instead of going forward. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Mr. Vaughn, District 4, if you would.
I have no concerns at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Appreciate you. Supervisor Shackleton, District 5.
No comments.
No comments. Just a couple little small things. Well, not small things. I just want to give the condolences to the George family. Ray George passed away, and he was, I represent District 1, Burkeville, and he was very instrumental as one of many part of the team who got the train station across and the road there, and he did that for economic development purposes. And his son Jay George did a wonderful job as speaking about his father. And but anyway, that was a loss for the town of Burkeville. We had a District 1 solar town hall meeting. I want to thank Mr. Chief Shute and the fire department for letting us use that space. I just want to especially say, and Chief Shute, he set the tone at the beginning of the meeting. One thing we don't see in government a lot is civility. That's changing, and I was very thankful that people were very civil to each other, even though they disagreed with each other, and they did it in a professional and in a professional manner. So I was very thankful for that. The other thing is and you just said it, Ms. Simmons, and so I met with all three mayors, and we're trying to get this economic development going, and we have a meeting next week, and we're hoping to have budget section, and then we're going to sit down with the three mayors and see how we're going to establish this economic development committee, like we had it before, Mr. Vaughn, as you spoke, and hopefully that we'll have budget, and then maybe I ask Mr. Costin to reach out to them, and they can invite them to break bread with us, and before we meet, and I got a really nice letter from Mr. Mayor, newly elected Ben Green, and I'm not going to read the whole letter, but this is the part that all three mayors has said to us. I have spoken with a few town council members, and they're excited to begin a partnership with our town and Nottoway County, and are very enthusiastic about going forward. And so there's some enthusiasm there, and you're right, Ms. Simmons, we don't want to back up anymore. We need to start going forward, and I'm hoping that we can accomplish that working together, as you said. So very well spoken. That's all I have. I'm getting ready, if you follow the agenda, public, we're getting to go in closed session. We don't know if we're back at 3 minutes, or we're going to be back at 30 minutes or an hour. But when we come back into the meeting, we will turn our mics on, and so if we take any action, you'll be able to see that. With that said, I'm entertaining a motion to somebody to read off to go into closed session that's written on the agenda.
I move that the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A7 for consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, specifically regarding personnel matters and land use regulatory enforcement. And 2.2-3711A1, assignment and performance of Pacific County employees, specifically relating to personnel matters now pending in county administration.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons, for that motion, and very well read. Can I get a second?
Second.
I get a second with Mr. Vaughn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same size. We are now in closed session. Mic up. All right, I'm entertaining a motion to come back into open session.
Whereas the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of...
I think I got to get a motion to go into open session, get a second, and then she does the certification, right? Did I say that right? Is that the certification? Did I do that wrong? I'm sorry.
She's reconvene.
She's doing a reconvene. I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
I'm saying I move to reconvene in open session.
Second that motion.
All right, I got a sorry, Ms. Simmons, I misled
all right.
you. I misled you. We've got a motion to reconvene, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ms. Simmons,
Let
would
me
you
start
please?
over again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, would you
That's all right.
certify the motion?
Whereas the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this Board of Supervisors that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements of the Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meetings were here discussed or considered by the Board of Supervisors. And 3, no action was taken in the closed meeting regarding the items discussed.
Second.
All right, we got a motion to certify and got a second by Mr. Rourke. Mr. Costin, would you do roll call for that, please?
Yes, sir. Supervisor Simmons, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Rourke, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Vaughn, do you so certify?
Yes.
Supervisor Shackleton, do you so certify?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen, do you so certify?
Yes, sir. All right.
Vote is 5-0, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Costin, for that. If there's no further business, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion from Mr. Vaughn, Mr. Vaughn, a second by Ms. Simmons. All in favor signify by standing up.
All right. I don't vote, so I have to.
I don't think you are.